You ready?
You never knew.
I feel like you'd like probably care the least about attention, like out of the generalities of guys and baseball players, like you're the one of in that low key category we roll. Yeah. How impactful was the lack of like the presence of fans and the energy in the building?
I was weird, man. Like, it's hard to describe. You're so used to it, you know. Like you almost take it for granted. Sometimes, like when you make your debut in the big leagues, it's a big deal. You know, you have the 3-deck stadium for the first time and whatever 40,000 people, and then after a while, it just becomes your daily thing or your nightly thing. And then when it's gone, and we were in Wrigley for opening day, I guess opening day in July, and it's just like quiet, you know, and you're used to playing in Wrigley Field and people are screaming at you and it's loud and people have been partying for a few hours before the game. And there's just like this atmosphere and just none of that's there. It's just you versus the other team. And like this eerie kind of silence with some piped in sound noise.
They're piping in sound for you guys too. It's not just TV, like piping in.
Yeah. We have the sound just because people can hear. You could literally hear everything. Like in the other dugout, you could hear people talking.
Yeah.
You can't. Me and you sometimes wouldn't be able to have a conversation on the field.
Right.
If it gets loud enough, we'd have to scream at each other, and even then, maybe.
It's did it ever feel like it got normalized?
That part got easier. Like after a couple weeks, it was just like, okay, fans aren't here, is what it is, you know.
Right.
The weird part was just like your routine was so altered and different because of the protocols and all the safety precautions that you had to take. Like where you got food was different, where the gym was different.
How did that actually work? As far as, because you know, most of the leagues were put in a bubble. They're put in a place where they make it very easy for you, streamlined process. As far as just staying out of the way, challenging for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think a bubble would be a challenge in its own right. This was a challenge in the fact that, you know, we didn't have a ton of time to adjust to it. Like the season first off, you didn't know if it was going to happen or not for a long time.
Right.
And then it came out like, all right, summer camp, spring training 2.0 starting here in like 10 days.
Right.
So get ready, get everything, get out there and roll. And then we had 3 weeks to do that and then it was season. So you had that with the new testing protocols and the isolation kind of because you're not allowed to be around anybody or do anything or see anyone.
Yeah. What did that? I mean, baseball. I talked to a bunch of baseball guys. I obviously have a background in baseball. I remember talking to some guys. We were doing remotely having conversations and podcasts. I remember talking to Dansby specifically, and he's just like, "Dude, I've been staring at this wall at this hotel. Like, it's obviously baseball being. I think all sports are mental. I think a lot of life is really mental, and how you kind of preserve the way you're feeling and seeing things and your perspective. Did you feel like that was kind of one of the biggest challenges out of it all?
Yeah, because baseball players, you just get in that routine, right? Like it's such a long season, it's every day, and it's just like, all right, this is what I do. Like head down underwater, and like I'm grinding this thing for 6 months, you know. And it's like day games is this, night games is this.
Right.
Or on the road, I'm gonna do this, home this, and like all that. You might as well just like shred it and start over and then adapt.
Are you heavily routine guy?
I think I was. I didn't think I was until it was gone, and then I was like, well, maybe I actually am like a pretty, just the time of day you do things, like your schedule, and just had to adapt. But after a while, you got used to it, and we just made the most of it. And we're fortunate enough to have a season, and you know, we made the playoffs, got bounced pretty quickly, but I think just to do that in that kind of season was success in itself, and just kept it rolling.
Well, congrats on a fucking unbelievable campaign you've had so far, man. It's been, I mean, as just a fan of baseball, I mean, I watch less and less as the time goes by, but obviously I'm you know, tuned in and know the guys who do well, and it's been, I mean, you're a guy who's in the league when you were 21, correct?
Yeah, 2013.
That's a very interesting dynamic. I mean, dude, when I think about when I was 21 years old, I mean, I'm older than you. Thinking about that, it's just like trying to put myself in that realm. Like, you know, obviously being a baseball player growing up, this is your dream, right? And getting there at such a level, you're still a fucking kid, straight up. Especially men. Like, I feel like women kind of like think about the fucking hot girls in high school. Like they're hanging out with the older guys. They're more mature emotionally. We're just like trying to figure out who to fuck next and get, you know what I mean? Like run through a wall, like testosterone, and just understanding yourself as a person, as a human being is very challenging.
Yeah.
Like, and you just had to have been at least fast tracked in some way. I don't know if you've seen on many of my podcasts, but I mean, we'll talk about baseball a little bit, but I really like understanding like what makes guys tick. Like, why are you here? How did this happen? You know, like, you know, obviously you've had an unbelievable run so far, and I think you have a long career ahead. But being subjected to, you know, the big leagues and kind of achieving your dream at a really early stage in your life as a man is really interesting. And I don't think many people walking on the planet have done that. Really, like, oh, I have a dream. Like, yeah, like this pipe dream. You do it, but not only you do it, like you just fast track. You do it fucking ASAP. Really, you can't really get there much earlier than 21. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain on that, and like, you know, if you could put yourself back in the psyche then, and just, you know, were you always kind of emotionally, you know, advanced or just very calm and collected? Is this how, you know, just walk me through it a bit.
I mean, I was actually talking about this with somebody the other day. It might have been one of our young guys, rookies, or prospects. It's kind of like this. It might have been at lunch or just like in the locker room or something. And at the time, when you're 21 at the time, you're like, oh man, I'm so old. It's like a senior in high school, you know? Like you're a senior in high school and you're like, man, like, all right, like I got my shit together. I'm old. Like I'm an adult. And then you look at yourself now and you're like, dude, I didn't know shit. Like I thought I knew everything. I thought I was like so mature and had my shit together and knew what I was doing and knew what life was about. And I was like, I got this. And then you look back, you're like, dude, no, not even close. So it's kind of the same situation. When I was 21 in the big leagues, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I was kind of just almost naive to it, or like just like dumb, but in a way that it helped me, because I was like, yeah, I belong here, man. I'm 21. Like I'm in the show. Like, yeah, of course. Like I'm gonna go out there and crush it. And like looking at myself as a player at 21 and a player now about to go into my age 29 season, parts and 9 seasons later, I'm like, dude, how did you even survive? Like, well, how did you even get a hit? And at the time, I was like, dude, I'm gonna go crush this. And like, I wasn't playing at the level I am now back then, but I was like, yeah, like, this is what's supposed to be happening. And
I mean, probably a part of your success, you know, not getting
part of it. I mean, you do have the thing of like, all right, like I remember thinking when I got called up, I was like, all right, like I don't know if I can do this or not, but we're about to find out here pretty quickly.
Thrown into the
you
fucking
got no
fire.
choice. And part of that situation, you know, like where I was at the time, like Miami, the team, we ended up losing 100 games that year. They let a lot of their young prospects.
Probably a blessing, right?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of it's situation dependent in sports. And then when you get your opportunity, you have to produce and take advantage of it and play well. And that's the thing, dude. Like, so many people want to say that there's something. Like, oh, I want to say I play in the big leagues. Or I want to say, like, oh, like I want to write in my Instagram bio or Twitter bio, you know, musician, Major League Baseball player. But do you want to do what it takes to be that? Like, do you want to say it or do you want to be it? And I always like, I want to be it and not say it. So you can get caught up and like you see it. Like now that I've been in the league long enough, you see guys that have a lot of talent and wash out because they want to live the life and the image and do it for the gram, for lack of a better phrase, instead of like, hey man, like there's a small window of my life here to take advantage of this crazy, unique opportunity that I worked my ass off to get to. Like people forget, like you work your entire damn life to get to this point. Like everything you did since you were a kid was like geared to this. And not only you, but like your family and people that surrounded you.
Everything.
Like, everybody's effort and time and energy was like to help you succeed and live your dream. So why are you gonna piss it away once you get there just to live the life or write some shit in a social media bio? And you get caught up and you have to like ground yourself sometimes. Be like, look, man, like that's cool. Like you got to do that sometimes. You got to have fun. You got to enjoy life, but you got to realize like what it's about.
It seems like that seems like one of the biggest discrepancies, if not the biggest, between the guys who really have those storied careers. The guys who really,
because it takes so much, man. Like it demands the game of baseball, and I'm sure I can't speak on football and basketball, but you can speak on playing at like a really high level. It demands so much. It demands so much time, so much commitment, so much effort, not only during the season, but the off season, on off days. Like you got to get it, man. And
your entire being is really wrapped up in this, you know, in the sense of not in a negative way. It's just like what you eat.
Right.
What am I gonna do from, you know, your nighttime? Like, and you're really thinking about like young adults in the prime of their lives in the sense of like health and energy,
right?
And you know, and also in the prime of their life, like these are the years that you're like figuring out what life is. Like you really before 20, you're not even thinking about like life on a grander scale. You're like, what's my day to day? You know, what am I trying to do? But like you get into this 20s, even, you know, even up through mid 30s, like where you're like kind of looking around like, all right, like there's more to life than just like my tasks and my job and who I am. There's like this whole other realm of what being alive is, where it's a lot to figure out, and it can be challenging not in the limelight. It could be challenging with no one watching. You know, obviously, like tons of people have problems kind of, I guess, establishing their place and who they want to be and their purpose. You hear people talk about purpose all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, I had this conversation with Max on the podcast. He's just like, you know, people saying like, if I had the time and I put the time in, like I could be doing what Max is doing. And he's like, dude, that's pretty much what it's all about. Like all the dedication.
I saw that. He said, like finding the time is a choice. Like you got to find the time. It's not like, oh, if I had the time. It's like, no, you make time for it.
Right.
I think is what he said. And it's true. It's like you prioritize this in your life and you find time for it, and it's a sacrifice.
Right.
Like sometimes you miss out on things, or something. You know, like I haven't had a summer in, I don't know, couldn't tell you the last time. Maybe after I got drafted, before I signed, I had like 2 months.
Right.
When I was 18.
People don't think about that.
You know,
people don't realize that. They don't think about it. They just think you got, you know, gifted, you know, this God's gift. And I talk about the dichotomy of sports fans and the players and like the relationship between the two. And I think a lot of time it goes by the wayside of like understanding the sacrifices made your entire life. And even currently, you know, like even though you're a millionaire and even though you get all these perks and, you know, you get in the restaurant before them, you know, all these stupid things that like people societally might think, you know, that's the shit. You know, those guys are living the dream. Like there's just so much that goes into it.
And you are living the dream. Like you are living the dream, but you had to earn it, you know? Like it wasn't like you were blessed with some talent. Like you have to naturally have the ability and like the athleticism inside of you to do that. But you got to grow that, man. Like you're not just tapped on the shoulder and it's like you're going to be this star athlete. Like you got to earn that your entire life.
Were you like noticeably just very, very gifted athletically your whole life growing up? Did you know, was there something in the back of your mind like something special, you know, brewing?
I didn't know if I was something special or anything like that. I was always like a gifted hitter for whatever reason. Like that kind of came naturally to me. I played all sports growing up: basketball, football, baseball.
You had like sports in your family, right? Your parents.
More on the football side though. Nobody played baseball besides me, but I didn't just start playing baseball until high school. But even in high school, I didn't think. I knew I was good. I never thought I wasn't good.
Right.
But good and can you play in college or pro ball or the major leagues? It's completely, there's a pretty wide spectrum.
So it wasn't like an obvious thing to you. Like it wasn't like, you know.
I mean, dude, I didn't know if I was gonna play in the big leagues or not till like my first major league camp, and I had success in it, and I was like, all right, maybe there's a chance. And I was a first round draft pick.
Right.
But you just can't assume anything. You know, you got to go out there and earn it. And 2013. I think it was the World Baseball Classic, and it was my first time in Major League Camp, and some of our players went to the WBC, so I really got a chance to play for a long time because they were missing from camp. And I did well, and like I said, going back to being 21 and dumb, I was like, oh, I can play in the big leagues, but you don't realize, like, spring training is not really the big leagues. Like, they have the same name on the back of their jersey, and it's the same guy. But the game's totally different. There's no scattering. Like that guy's out there, like whatever, bro. Hit it 700 feet. I don't care. Like I'm out here working on stuff and trying to feel things. Maybe working on a new pitch. But when you're a young kid, rookie, first big league camp, you're like, oh, dude, it's on. And you're playing like it's Game 7 of some playoff series out there.
Right.
And had a little success there. And that I've kind of finally had it in my mind, like, all right, like
I can do this.
I can do this. I think I'm going to end up being able to play in the big leagues. I knew I wasn't going to make the team out of camp because I hadn't even played in Double-A or anything yet. But I was like, not too distant future here, I might have a shot to do this.
Yeah.
It's a different story when the lights come on and that third deck goes up there, but I think like I'm going to have the opportunity. And looking back on that, and like it seems like it was a year ago, but it really hasn't been.
It's crazy how time moves,
it really
man.
flies.
It really does, especially when you're living a life that you're living. I kind of wanted to ask you your thoughts on it. Baseball is a sport now in the current stance in societies, especially. It feels like it's scratching and clawing for like how we're gonna compete with, grabbing the attention of this younger generation. Like this. I think there's some things the league can be doing in the sense of just like allowing highlights to be free flowing on social media. I've had this conversation with Bauer. He came on and we talked about it a bunch. He seems like he's actively, I think players have their own take on it, but he's actively kind of making an effort to grow the game and in a form of doing vlogs and things. I talked about this. I actually had Squints on from
the Sandlot?
Yeah, from the Sandlot. And we were talking, for whatever reason, I think because of the Sandlot, obviously, we got into baseball and we were talking. And then it just feels like the fucking season's too long, man. Like, do you have that feeling as a player? Do you guys have those discussions? Like, or is it kind of feel normal to you guys? Is that not really?
I mean, it's kind of like people talk about it all the time, but it's like kind of the season, man. Like, it's hard to shorten it because then what? Like everything, like all the records, everything's based on like previous players, teams.
Sure.
Like, it's all different now if you shorten it. And then baseball's not made to be like this sprint,
right?
Like we
There's
saw
only so
that
much
last
you can
year.
do.
We saw that last year with the 60 games. Like the 100 to be able to do it at a high level, like as a team and a player and individual for 162 games is a lot different than being able to do it for 2 months or 1 month. Like that's when you really see like who guys are. So that's why I think the length of the season is important.
So you think it's right in the sweet spot that it should be this way?
I just think it is what it is, man. Like it's been that way for so long, and not saying that just because something's been some way for so long that that's the right thing to do.
Right.
But I really think you find like the best out of guys that can, because there's something to be said for being able to do it. Like you can't fool anybody for that long. Like,
exactly.
You can't.
But
you can have a hot month and kill it, but can you do it for 6 months? Or you can have a really good. You see a lot of guys over here have a great first half, make the All-Star team, and then it's Tom Petty free falling the rest of the second half, and that doesn't happen with a shorter season. Like you got to be a guy to do it for that long. So that's the reason
I agree.
I like that, and you truly see who the best teams are at the end of that. Like you can teams get hot too for a month and then fade. Like a lot of teams are in first place at the All-Star break that are last by the time the
It feels like
ends.
it feels like I mean, honestly, I had the opposite stance when I talked about it. I was like, I feel like the season should be shorter. I've asked some guys this. I agree, though. They're hearing you talk about it. I mean, it really does. It tells the truth.
Right.
That demands that the truth be told.
There's no fooling. Like once that ends, it's like you got the best teams that are now in the playoffs.
Right.
You got the Cy Young winner. You got the guy that's the MVP. You got the Rookie of the Year. That's legit. And not saying last year's wasn't, because I actually think teams that made the playoffs, won the World Series, guys that won individual awards last year, everything that you had to deal with, it's a hell of an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
But I'm just saying, in a regular year with regular crowds, regular fans, if you condense it down, you kind of lose some of that.
Absolutely.
I agree that it could help with viewership if it was smaller, because everyone, the average fan would feel like the games mean more, But that's hard too, because like everything runs off of money, and owners get the gates, and they have the TV deals, and like it's so much harder than just being like, yeah, we can shorten it.
Totally.
I
get it.
So there's so much that goes into that. But I think the sharing of the highlight things and the marketing the players like that is huge. And if you until that happens, it's never going to happen.
Right.
Like you can talk whatever your idea is to grow the game and make it more appealing. The world is digital now. Everything's on your phone, an iPad, whatever, So to not allow your sport to share highlights and stuff on
Gotta change.
on that, like, I don't know, man. It just doesn't make any sense.
Is there
to
a
me.
movement amongst the players? Does it feel like that's going to change?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have a finger on it, or can't tell you one way or the other, but it should. Just for I don't know what goes into that business-wise or why it's the way it is. I'm sure some sort of licensing thing, or somebody owns something and doesn't want to
Right.
allow it to be shared freely and openly like other leagues. But that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to take. And the league can say they want to grow the game and appeal to the younger generation as much as they want. Until they take that next step, then it's all for naught.
Feels like the obvious next step.
Just because that's what the younger generation's all on. So if you're
like House of Highlights is replacing SportsCenter slowly but surely.
Yeah.
It literally is. Like I'm part of the older. Like I'm not fucking 18. Like and I'm already gathering most of my daily sports from House of Highlights.
Right.
It's crazy. So. I feel like that's just the obvious next step. I feel like they need to at some point. And then,
I think it will.
I think so too.
It just has to. Like, you have to evolve with that.
Right.
And I think they're going to.
They will.
They've gotten better in certain aspects of it and making an effort. It's just like you got to just dive in head first and just go for it, But I think it's going to take a little bit. But once it's slowly starting to happen. And I think whenever I don't know if there's a contract or what's going on, but whenever it's time to be able to do that, I would hope at least that.
I feel like baseball and hockey are kind of. I have a bunch of hockey buddies. Kind of like it feels like it's kind of the old man like way of the structure of the way the league feels. Even like it just needs to be modernized. Like in the sense of just like even just like. Allowing you guys to be exactly who you are. I feel like baseball is taking steps in that way, even just like with the uniform stuff and allowing, like, they should be like taking pictures and uploading you guys walking into the stadium. I know they're starting that now. Like just these things that give you an identity beyond just down there on the field in your uniform,
Right.
And I feel like, hockey's another one of those sports where they could just got to dive in on it and let the players really, just the modern version of this whole thing where it's like you don't really have to regulate the players as much. Let them. There's most interviews used to be very buttoned up. Now you're sitting here, we're bullshitting, talk, and the same amount of people will see it, So it's this whole change to a more raw. I like the word raw, like just organic formats, and kind of loosening up the buttons and letting the players be feels like the obvious answer. Giving the people a real window into you guys.
Just letting people know like who you are, because most people that's how they know you is through how they watch you on TV playing the game, and they'll have a perception of you one way. They may love you, they may absolutely hate you, but chances are they're never gonna meet you, and you're never gonna have a chance to sway them one way or the other, And so their just impression of you is like, all right, like this guy plays on the team. I don't like that guy.
True,
but if we sat down like this, like maybe you would, or maybe like, fuck that guy,
Definitely.
I hate him. But that's why this stuff's cool, and like I told you earlier, like I do it with people that I trust and like and know, and it's just that's the way things are going. It's the new way of just like having a conversation, getting to know somebody. Besides with I'm excited for baseball season. Can't wait. We're gonna try our hardest, and like the cliched responses, but you kind of have to, because if you don't do that, then
they'll take it out of context.
And then you just get crushed. And if, like you see it all the time.
I feel like there's an obvious divide forming, between traditional media and just like the athlete culture. Because, like you said, just rather sit down with someone you feel comfortable with, and can trust that they won't run and misconstrue things you say. I get it totally.
And that's not all media, but there's some that where you're just like, man, like I don't know, and not saying that's ever happened to me, but you just like don't want to put yourself in that situation, or just be like, man, like I'll just go do an interview with my friends.
Right. What I mean, I'd like to know a little bit about, just kind of segueing a bit. Like I want to know a little bit. Like I said, a key to this is I was super inspired by a book called Think and Grow Rich. I don't know. Are you a reader at all? You like reading stuff?
Every now and then.
Yeah.
Not as much as I probably should.
I've got into it. I mean, how old are you?
29.
29. Yeah, I got into it around that age, just a few years ago. And Think and Grow Rich essentially is a book. Guy back in the day who had access to he worked for a guy who was, one of the first billionaires that ever existed and had a crazy network. Essentially got to study all of his network, sit down, learn, understood why, what makes them tick. Why do they react the way they react? Why do they act the way they act? Why do they lead the way they lead? And it feels like it was this pretty big inspiration in this, because I think, everyone who's successful and I'm talking to, they have their own kind of versions of the same things. These undertones of who they are, what makes them tick and what makes them excel.
Yeah.
And I like to know a little bit just like about, I mean, because we met in person one time. Where did I run into you?
I think Kane Brown concert.
That's
Like,
where it was.
just walking around.
Yeah, yeah.
Cross paths that
Kane's
way.
a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I thought it was a post concert, but it was a Kane concert. Are you a country music guy?
Yeah, I was actually doing a Sports Center thing across the street from Staples, and he was having that thing too, and I was like, well, I don't want to drive back in rush hour traffic.
Right.
And like, I like country music, and
Yeah.
I like all music actually, but
Right.
I like country music and Kane, and it's like, yeah, I might as well like go check it out and do that whole thing. And
good time.
Turned out it was like the last concert I'd see for a long time because COVID shut the world down. But
I want to say that might have been the last concert I've seen too, or even played. I haven't played any concert since.
Yeah,
crazy.
It was wild, but that's how I ended up there, and just with some friends and some people, and we crossed paths real quick, exchanged numbers, and we're in touch, and been meaning to do this for a while, and finally lined up.
It always happens at the right time, you know. But yeah, I wanted to just, you know, you could share as much as you want about it, but just I know you grew up in California. You know, just give us a little window into you know, not even your childhood, just your steps from A to B, getting into professional baseball, and just tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I had a pretty, like, I wasn't groomed to be like a professional baseball player. Like, I feel like some of these kids these days are like, they're like programmed to be this, and there's so much specialty coaching and travel ball when you're 5 years old or whatever it is, and like, travel ball wasn't really a thing when I was a kid. I mean, 12, 13 is when it first started coming on the scene, and I played that whole deal, but I played everything. And my family and parents let me make a decision. And it was just, even when I got drafted, I was a first round pick, college on the table. Like, look, we'll help educate you or talk to you about whatever you want to talk about when you make this decision, but like, you gotta live it.
Right.
You're either going to college or you're either going to the minor leagues and grinding on the buses and trying to make it to the big leagues. So you've got to make the decision at the end of the day. Like, if you want to bounce stuff off of us, awesome.
Isn't it wild how you know, as you get older, you realize just how like it's all you know growing up, but you realize how fucking lucky you are when you have great parents.
Super lucky, yeah.
Just like realizing and understanding like programming. You said the word programming, which we talk about that a lot. There's unbelievable environmental programming that happens to you, and essentially from I think the ages 1 to 7, your brain is in a stage where it's the most formative years of your life. So like, think about it. You can't fend for yourself at that age, so you're literally like subject to whatever your environment is. And if your parents suck and have shitty outlook on things, it becomes a part of your being.
It's a bummer for you because
that's
all you know.
Yeah, so to have parents, especially when like you get to a point where it's real fucking life-changing money, you know, like, and to have them not be, you know, as bad as it sounds, I feel like a lot of the things you mentioned, like when you're gearing your 5-year-old up to go fucking play, you know, and parents, you know, when you have a talented kid, there is a lot of money, and I think a lot of times it will come from a good place. Yeah, but there's also that element.
I feel like in order to be able to want to put the work in to get to that level that they want you to get to, you have to enjoy what you're doing. Like, you have to the kid has to decide and be like, I want to do this. And then it's like, great, support them, give them every opportunity that you're able to give them to achieve that dream. But like, you have to decide yourself. Like, it doesn't matter how bad anybody else wants it. If you don't want it, it's just not gonna happen, because you have to take ownership. It's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like everything you do in your life, not to be like over dramatic or anything, like everything you do in your life, but it's like a lot of decisions you make in your life or actions you take are geared towards that goal from when you're at a really young age to like even now.
Absolutely.
So you have to want to do it. If you don't want to do it, it's going to be miserable when you're not going to put in the work or do the things that you need to do to get there.
You're spot on.
So I think that's big for kids. It's like you gotta really like it. You gotta give them the opportunity to have that like aha moment of like, hey, mom, dad, this is what I want to do.
Right.
And then it's like, great.
Without the passion, you're right. It doesn't matter how fucking talented you are.
Right.
I mean, without the passion, there's no way you'll be able to achieve.
Yeah, it just won't happen.
Right.
You can be super talented and you might go really far just on talent, but to make it to where everybody dreams of, you know, of, like you said, life-changing money or whatever is that thing that you're chasing, whether it's stardom, money, whatever it may be. to get to that level, you have to love it. Like, at the end of the day, like, you gotta love it.
Absolutely.
It's just
straight up. Anything in
when you
life.
strip everything else away, like, you still have to love it, because after a while, the notoriety gets old. Like,
almost to the point where you kind of dislike it. I talk to a lot of guys just like, that's the least. I mean, I know me personally. I don't.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, if that's what's keeping you going,
right,
it's gonna fade, right?
Absolutely.
Like, once it happens to you at the beginning, you're like, oh, this is weird, man. Like, this is cool, I guess, but I don't really know how to feel about it. Like, it's still kind of weird. And then like after a few years and stuff, it's like, all right, like that's not what drives you, or like you have to have that drive inside of you to be the best, or to get everything out of it that you have.
Right.
Nobody, like, no external influences are going to make you put the work in. You know? I even tell people, like, yeah, the money's cool too, but it's all digital numbers. Like, when you have an 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts and you suck, it's not like you come back to your locker and there's a big brown bag of money at your chair. You know what I mean?
Just numbers on the screen.
Right.
Man.
It's you and your thoughts, and I'm not discounting the fact that, like, that life-changing money, that's awesome, and like, I appreciate it every second of the day. But when you're going through it and you're not doing well and you suck and everybody hates you and they're booing you, you don't come back to like a stack of money at your chair and like, oh, it's gonna be all right, man. No, like, you gotta dig deep and find it, and it's a unique thing. So I think to be successful in anything, there has to be a level of passion there, and an internal drive and a fire to want to succeed.
People are always asking me, John, I see you boys frickin' raging day after day. How do the boys stay so shredded? Well, we do it with a little can-do attitude, some elbow grease, and yes, a large inheritance from my father, Earl Goodman. But we also have incredible supplements. We have 2 supplements that we use on a daily basis. On the reg, we're gonna share them with you today. The first one being Liquid IV Energy Multiplier. This is just an incredible source of natural energy. We talk about these guys all the time. But naturally, Liquid IV is a hydration multiplier. So on top of energy, one of these little flavor packets here, you mix it into a bottle of water, and it's the equivalent hydration of 2 to 3 bottles of water. And if that wasn't enough, you're getting an energy boost, about 100 milligrams of caffeine from natural energy, from matcha green tea. And I mean, we use it all the time for, just everyday life, or for exercise. It's great. And we have a great offer for you today. If you go to liquidiv.com and use promo code YNK, you're going to get 25% off your entire order. Wow, what a terrific deal. Go to liquidiv.com, promo code YNK, get 25% off your entire order. Tell them Steve sent you, but wait, that's not all. The second thing that's on our shelf, hand to God, we only use these 2 products because we're just so in love with them. The next one is Aminoline by RSP Nutrition, and it appears on the surface that it's just a pre-workout, but it is so much more than that. Again, you take a scoop or 2 of this into a bottle of water. It's great for weight loss. It's great for mental focus. It's got 0 calories, 0 sugar, and a really good flavor. You can use it to replace your morning cup of coffee. You can use it before a workout. You can use it on days you're not working out for muscle recovery. It's really just an all-in-one Aminoline by RSP Nutrition. So go to rspnutrition.com, and at checkout use, again, promo code YNK, and get 20% off your entire order. I know, I can't believe it either. I'm just dishing out these deals left and right. That's rspnutrition.com, and use promo code YNK to get 20% off your entire order. Tell them Steve sent you.
So being drafted, you're from California, which is a place you didn't play year-round baseball, though. You played multiple sports.
Yeah, I played year-round baseball, but it wasn't really that much of a thing. Like, there was kind of fall ball a little bit. I remember playing that a little bit as a kid, but travel ball wasn't really a thing. Like, you could play I played the wiffle ball on the street, I guess, with my friends, or played football or basketball.
Got some action.
I remember being in all the football leagues and the basketball leagues and all that
Quarterback?
Quarterback, and then receiver a little bit.
You got some wheels?
I can run a little bit, yeah. Even more so back in the day. I still
Yeah,
got
yeah,
it
yeah.
though for hopefully a few more years.
Still got it.
Basketball, I was all right. Like I wasn't going anywhere in basketball, but it was fun and like all my buddies. I had a good I still have a core group of friends, and like that was formed through sports.
Yeah.
And playing with, we'd all play in basketball and some football and baseball, and that's really why I stuck with baseball. I was like, well, my buddies are doing it, I like it. Like,
Yeah.
pretty good at it, but we're all kind of my friends ended up being pretty good. Like a lot of them went to college on baseball, so to be able to do that, you gotta be pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
So we were all kind of the same talent level, I guess you could say. Like we weren't really like, oh man, like I'm so much better than these guys.
Right.
Like, no, these guys are dudes too.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe why I was like, I don't know, like I'm good, but like who knows? It's because like the people you're surrounded by, like
Totally.
D1 pitcher or D1 position player.
Right.
These guys all went to Division I schools. So I just didn't know anybody. Like, these are my,
And then
my
what?
homies.
Junior year of high school, things started to change.
Yeah, I made the varsity baseball team as a freshman, and I was the only one of my buddies to do that. And that's when I was like, all right, like maybe, but who knows? Like,
Right.
I don't know. Sophomore year, and then sophomore, junior year, like I was like, all right, like got a pretty good chance here to go to college for sure.
Right.
And you started doing the whole recruiting thing, getting the letters, and I was like, this is kind of wild.
Did your level of focus with the game accelerate as you realized you had a real shot, or was it always there?
I was always pretty passionate about it and really focused. I mean, once I got to high school, that's when I started just playing baseball. I was like, this is what I'm best at.
Right.
I enjoyed doing it.
Right.
Like if I'm gonna do anything in athletics, like this is what it's gonna be in probably.
Right.
And just geared everything towards that and tried to see what we could do. And like I didn't know, like of course I wanted to get drafted out of high school. Like did I know? No.
Yeah.
I just was trying to
First
go to college
round of high
first.
school,
Yeah.
man.
I was trying to go to college first. Well, I was a first round pick because there was it's so weird how the draft process works and like the prospect status works. I was a first rounder, I think, because you know like the Urban Youth Academy in Compton by any chance? Like, so there's like the Urban Youth Academy.
Right.
And there's this big showcase there right before the high school season starts. And like all the best players, I think it was from like the west half of the United States were there. And like I wasn't a great showcase player back in the day. Like I was fast, but I didn't run the fastest 60. Like my arms sucked ass. Like,
Yeah, there is a real difference.
you know,
There's
I couldn't
there's
throw
a real
at all.
discrepancy
Right,
that
I
guys
couldn't
will showcase.
Yeah,
and-
I couldn't throw real well at all in high school. I'd hit good in BP, but like I didn't have 80 grade light tower power in batting practice. Fielding was okay, you know. I was 6'3", 175 pounds. Like I
Had to grow into the body a
I'm
little bit.
okay.
Yeah.
But when the game started, I could always play.
Yeah.
You know, when the game starts, like I can play and like be a winning player in the game, but none of my tools stand out to you.
I get it.
In a showcase format. So I was always a pretty high ranked prospect, but I was never like, oh, this guy's a surefire first rounder.
Right. The tools.
Right. So this day, the stars aligned, man. Like best 60 I ever ran, best I ever did in batting practice. Game started, like hit a triple and like something else, took a bunch of good swings. And like 2 days later, like, oh, potential first round pick, you know? And I was like, all right, you know, because I got cut from the Team USA trials that summer before. Like I didn't make the Team USA. I played in the area code games for the Brewers, actually. It was the Brewers area code team.
Look at that.
But I played like part-time. You know, I wasn't like, you know when you're on those teams, like there's guys that they're like, hey, this is our guys. Like they play every day, all the time. They get all the attention. I wasn't really like one of those guys. I was on the team and it was cool. And like I was just playing, splitting time. I was playing first base at the time. So I was never one of those guys that was like, okay. And then Harper was actually at that showcase too, but he was 15. This is the best player I've ever seen.
The LeBron of baseball.
Well, he became Bryce Harper after this showcase. Like, this dude hit every ball in batting practice, like over the fence. Game started, the guy threw him a curveball. He hit this thing like
fucking
all the way into the parking lot. Like, oh, this guy's like incredible. I remember talking about it. I was like, are you like a senior, dude? He's like, no, I'm a freshman. He's like, no, I'm a freshman.
Why do you have a goatee?
Yeah, and like I don't. He probably doesn't even remember this, or maybe he does. But I was like, are you a senior? He's like, no, I'm a freshman. I was like, oh shit, like fuck. Maybe it was a baseball thing, not for me, you know.
Yeah.
But I also had a really good showcase and a really good day that day, and he became like Bryce Harper after that. That was like Baseball America cover, like all this stuff, and I remember that after that. And then I kind of started getting that first round pick kind of helium moving up the draft boards, and maybe so, and then ended up having a really good high school season, and that's how that ended up going down. But at the time I made my college commitment, I was like, dude, I'm for sure going to college. Like I got to,
Wow.
you know,
This
it was one day, like
this
6
is,
hours.
It's interesting hearing all this because it's. I always talk about this, like everything that we experience as people is data. Like it's we're continuously changing as people. Like whatever we eat, you know, whatever we think, whatever we experience, and it's probably a big reason why you are the way you are. You're humble, you know, like the humility, and just kind of the things you care about. I feel like, you know, when you are subject to the treatment that a Bryce Harper is, you know, at 15, or, you know, just the idea of like, yo, I grew up around a bunch of good baseball players. I never really I didn't know if I was just so much better, but all of that kind of goes into the equation of who you are and like your makeup, you know, it's interesting. So you get drafted first round, fucking, you know, probably 7 figures hit your account. What do you remember? Do you remember what, you know, what were the emotions? I'm sure you don't give a fuck about the money.
No, it was like, it was weird. Like, I didn't like, the money never was gonna change me.
Right.
Like, but I didn't like not give a fuck about it. Like I was like, oh, this is like pretty cool, dude. Like 2 weeks ago, I was counting change in my cup holder to see if I could buy like a McDonald's burger,
Chipotle.
right? You know, like I'd get my meal money for the week from my parents, and like, yeah, you're stretching that shit from Monday to Friday, man. And like, me and my buddies used to go to like all these restaurants, and we'd count out like change out of the cup holder. And I remember I took my mom's Costco card, and one day before school, I like photocopied it, the Costco card, cut out the thing, took an old like Dairy Queen gift card, taped it perfect. At like Costco, you can get like pizza and hot dogs or whatever for really cheap. You just gotta get in there. Yeah. And like when you go buy stuff at the food court, they don't swipe your card.
Love that.
You just gotta flash it to get in the door, right? So like I had this thing like perfect, dude. Like you couldn't tell unless you looked at the back. Did it work? Unless you looked at the back. So you just go and they flash it, and you're pretty far, like from here to the wall. So you just like walk in, it's a Costco card. Oh yeah, go ahead, man. So we used to go to Costco all the time, like counting out change or like dollars and pooling money together with your buddies to buy like a pizza. So you go from that to like a week later, and you're like,
do anything.
I'm 18, I'm a millionaire. Like it's kind of weird, you know? I remember that feeling of just like kind of sitting there like,
what
this
is really think about it. I mean, what did you cry? Like were there emotions that came up that you hadn't experienced yet? Because, you know, at 18, not extremely, I mean, I know I wasn't very emotional. Yeah. I've become way more emotional as I got older.
Yeah.
But.
No, I didn't cry because I always realized, I think, like, I was way more emotional about my last deal that I did around this time. Actually, tomorrow is like the year anniversary of that deal.
Sir.
But when I got drafted, it's not like football or basketball where like this is like you're set for life money. Like, yeah, it's a great head start, you know, but this isn't carrying you through life. So I was like, all right, this is awesome. But I never had like this, oh man, like I made it moment.
That's a good point.
You know? So it's different like that in baseball. But I definitely remember, because it happened, I was still in high school for 3 more days after I got drafted. You know, I was a first round pick. And I was like, I got 3 days of high school left in graduation. Like, this is really...
a little harder to focus in class.
It was really, yeah, it was like really weird. Like, even like teachers and stuff too were like, yeah, man, like take your final, like, I guess.
There you go.
Kind of just chilling.
Yeah.
So it was weird in that aspect. Or like, I think that was like the first time like people in your class like really like, oh man, like you actually might be kind of good at baseball. Like you played high school ball, but
like,
you're you were a first round pick. Yeah, pretty sure. Like I don't think I was dreaming. Like,
I think I was.
You wake up that next morning and you're like, damn, like that actually happened. I was actually late to my grad practice the next morning after I slept through my alarm, and I had to pick up like trash in the student parking lot the next day after being a first round pick. So I got a little humble pie pretty quick.
Whoever your coach is a G for that.
Right. But that was like the principal of the school. I forgot what it was. Like I was like, yeah, whatever, man, I'll pick it up. Yeah. And but this last one was like the time where I was like, damn, bro, like that shit's crazy, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, this last one was way more emotionally heavy than getting drafted. Absolutely. Drafted's pretty cool because like, okay, you got this goal and like your family was really stoked and like all your friends and everything were really excited and I was super excited, but like I said, it's going to change your life a little bit, but it's a head start. And like this one was like, wow, like like that's
Oh yeah.
life-changing money and
Forever.
a percentage of people that ever played baseball ever experienced that feeling. And
Or even think about human beings that exist.
Right.
Never ever,
And so once that happened, I was like, I had a lot of moments where I was like, holy shit, like,
Yeah.
this is
can imagine.
crazy. Or like, you start thinking back on like everybody that like played a part in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then that almost got me in the press conference, actually. Somebody asked me about like something like that, and I was just sitting there like,
Absolutely, man.
I was like, oh shit. Like,
I would
don't-
fucking be crying my
I was
eyes
like,
out.
oh my God, don't cry. Like my mom, everybody's sitting in first row, and
Yeah.
just like thinking of everybody that played a part in your life to get you there. And you're just
Driving
like,
at every practice. And,
yeah, chasing that dream, you know, and
Mhm.
like I said, like such a small percentage of people like ever gonna experience that or ever like to pick up a baseball and a bat. Like it's even in the major leagues. It's
I talk
probably
about this a
1%
lot
of
with the guys. I'm happy we're going this
Right.
way.
And
Like,
so that got me, dude. I was just sitting there and I was like thinking, like
Wow.
high school coaches, like trainers, little league coaches, pony ball coaches, your mom, dad, stepdad, brothers. Like it wasn't just you. That,
Mhm.
yeah, you had to play good to get there, but they helped you and like,
Right.
formed you to do that. And I was like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just like smacked me right in the face. There.
It should.
And I was like, damn.
It really should.
And it's like I started talking about it, and like I was like, nope.
Wow.
And I shut up real quick,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm not crying. It goes my whole team. So the whole team's watching the press conference. It was on MLB Network.
Yeah.
I was like, nah.
I think I saw a piece of it.
But that's what happened to me, man. And I was like, damn, this is like this. It got me pretty good. It's a stressful process while the thing's going on. You don't really know if it's going to happen until right before it does happen. There's so
Right.
much back and forth, and
Mhm.
it was just like a wow moment.
Are you, I think this is an interesting element to success. I know just, I think it happens with age too, and you start thinking about things bigger than yourself and
Mhm.
why me?
Mhm.
How lucky am I? Like that
Right.
feeling, those overwhelming feelings that you felt. Have you felt that you've become more spiritual in any way through, for lack of a better word, you said something in the beginning that I resonated with and we talk about a lot. Is like, this wasn't luck,
Mhm.
but you could argue it is.
Yeah, there's an
Because-
aspect of luck.
But even the hard work, right?
Mhm.
Like, or the parents element.
Mhm.
Like, why the fuck do you have those great parents?
Right.
Why do you have the mental makeup, or why do you even have that passion? You didn't put it there. You know what I mean? Why do you have that passion to sacrifice and do the things that allowed you to be, unlock your full potential?
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of people, or at least it seems like a trend, especially with guys like yourself who are, not lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
That you kind of start thinking about it on a bigger spectrum of like, there's a humility I feel if you do it right that grows with the success, because you're like, man, I'm lucky, like there's so much that went right for me. Do you feel like there's, and it's okay if not, do you feel like there's been an element of spirituality that's come into you through this process, or is it, or even something leaning that direction, or is it just
More of just like an appreciation, and just like it sounds like you've kind of, so yeah, I've thought about this a lot actually. It sounds like you probably have too. There's an aspect of luck to it, 100%. Like a lot of it is on you and to do the hard work and to do the stuff that it requires. But like you said, your surroundings, just like your ability, the opportunity, the times you took advantage of the opportunities, the times you needed to perform well, you performed well. Like the stars aligned for you, man. And you're just like, man, like, yeah, I'm so fortunate to do this. Like it's even, I've always been a pretty humble person, but like
right?
it almost made you like more humble and like appreciative, and like you look at the game and life in like a completely different way than you ever had. Because, and I don't think until you've experienced it, you can even kind of relate to that feeling of like, you just like,
It's true.
you sit back and you're just like, dude, this is such a trip. And you just like, I always treated people better, but you treat them even better. And like,
Totally.
your outlook on life, you're just happy, and you try and make other people happy, and like you're more, I'm trying to like find the word for it.
It's the power of gratitude, man. It's
Yeah.
like, I have a tattoo right here that says "Say thanks."
Yeah.
And I look in the mirror, it's like written backwards, so it's like telling me to say thanks for you know, for every day. And that's success or not, you know, but I really, that's why I wanted to go this way with you, because I could kind of feel it and sense it through your actions and how you hold
and it's
yourself.
like one of the coolest things about like having that platform, and the thing that like it takes getting used to, you know, because like I'm a guy like dude, like I'm a normal dude, man. Like I played baseball, like I'm pretty good at it.
Right.
Sometimes, like sometimes I suck at it, but
Right.
but I'm pretty good most of the time.
Yeah.
But that's like that doesn't. Besides that, like separating like me from anybody, like that's the only thing. You're still like a regular person that had a childhood, that had buddies growing up, that was in school and did all the same stuff. But now you've got this platform. And I think one of the coolest things is like you can just make somebody's day by saying, "What's up?" And like, "How's it going?"
Isn't
like,
that incredible?
"How are you?" And like that's the coolest thing in the world to them. And you like look at yourself like, "Why, man? Like, why do you think that's cool?"
Jim Carrey had a quote. He's like, live a life, like he realized he had led a life to where like people, it brought out the best of people wanted to show them their best selves. You know, like there's an element to where like the connectivity that you have with other people, and like just that, like you just said, like the power that you hold just by, you know, whatever your talent may be, to impact people and change the trajectory of people, not only people's days, people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, it's
a trip, dude. Like if you really start thinking about it, you're like, man, like this sometimes like there's some heavy shit. Like,
absolutely.
And with that, you have to do things the right way. Like there's an added responsibility on you to like not fuck up. Like don't fuck up. Like, you know, like it makes your decision making better. Like everything you do, like just don't, man. Like it's not worth it. Like, don't put yourself in this situation. Don't do it. Like it's not worth it.
Right. Love it.
But yeah, man, like it changed me in that way of like just like happier. You just try to be nicer to people and make their day. Like do everything you can. And some people just aren't gonna like you though for whatever reason. And like, you have to accept that too.
If people don't like you, they suck. I mean,
well, like they just don't know you. Is what I feel like. Like if they knew you and sat down with you and they're like,
absolutely,
got to really know you, they'd be like, all right, man. Like maybe you still not like me, but it's all right. Like,
and there are plenty of guys who have tons of success that never connect with what you're saying. Like they'll get douchier and like be like, you know, like there's I say lost in the sauce all the time. It's just.
But when you see it though, you can see when you're around it. Like when you're a kid and you look at that, or you're younger and you look at somebody that's like you said, douchey or an asshole. Like you're like, why, man? Like I don't understand. But when you get there, like, you kind of understand because of the way people treat you. Like they treat you like you're better than them, and you're not.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think people
like get lost in that in their head. Like
absolutely.
And once you're exposed to it for so long, like yeah, man, I'm the shit. Like
perspective is.
And you should never lose that, man. And that's why I'm so thankful for like my family and my friends. Because if I ever started doing something like that, they'd be like, man, what the fuck are you doing right now? Like,
wow.
There wouldn't be. You would do it one time and they'd check you hard. And like you're so thankful for that. Just
it's
because
a blessing.
So many people that get success are surrounded by people that just say yes to them because they want to be surrounded by them.
Honestly, and I'm sure you probably realize this, but it's really it's a reflection of what's going on inside of them. You know, like the people who take that you know, you could call it special treatment, or just people knowing that they have this gift that might separate them from the normal person in society, and then taking advantage of it. Or you learn as you get older. There's a lot of that's deep rooted in like insecurity and unhappiness, and you know.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. Just
for sure.
Upbringing, learning on the job. Like sometimes people have to live out that life of fame at super young ages. Mostly musicians and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
You know, everyone messes up when you're 15, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Totally.
You do a lot of dumb shit when you're a kid. You just don't know any better. But when that plays out in front of like the public and the eye and every decision you make. If every decision I made when I was 16, 17, 18 years old was judged by the masses or in the media, like, damn,
it's challenging.
You know?
It's a whole other set of circumstances and challenges. So you get drafted, you go to Miami, a very fun place to be. But you know, obviously, I know you're not one of those guys who gets caught up in the rah-rah of it all. But how was adjusting to Miami and being there as a big leaguer and being young and handsome, young, rich, and handsome in Miami?
I mean, being 21 years old in the major leagues in Miami is like that's a lot of the time.
Yeah,
this could go one of two ways.
Is it challenging for you or not? Not really.
No, honestly, because baseball's every day. and I'm so damn tired after the game. You know, thankfully for that. Like when the game ends, it's already like by the time you get home, it's like 11:30 midnight already. And you're like, like,
what the fuck are you gonna do?
I'm so tired.
Right.
You know, like, do I really want to like get dressed again and like go out to South Beach right now? Most of the times, the answer was no.
Right.
Of course, I did it and experienced it. Or if we had an off day and stuff, we had a pretty young team and guys that would just do that, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But I think it would have been a lot more challenging if baseball wasn't like an everyday sport, this everyday grind. And
that's a good point.
Just being dog tired at the end of the day.
That's a good point.
Just like, bro, I just want to go to sleep, you know?
Right.
And that happened a lot of times. Yeah. Because you're like, man, I got to wake up. And then there was always that, like, for me, inside me, I was like, dude, like, I haven't done anything just because I made it to the big leagues. Like, cool. Like, I don't want to be one of those guys that, like, telling people 10 years from now, like, oh, man, cup of coffee. Like, let me tell you about the show, man.
Right.
Like, we went out all the time and it was crazy. I mean, I played 3 weeks, but it was crazy 3 weeks. Like, I never want to be one of those guys. So I try to take it as serious as I could, and while also having fun. You need that balance in life too. Like, it can't just be like hardcore all the time. You gotta have a little fun. And there's times and places though you gotta be smart about it. Like, if you got off day the next day, go out, have fun, man. Like, be a kid and do your thing, and that's what we did.
How long were you in Miami for?
5 years. So 21 through, I think, my age 25 season. And then I got traded after that.
And then you got the deal. The big deal was what, a year ago, you said?
I was 28, yeah.
Crazy.
And then did when I was 22, like my first one when I was 22. That one was trippy too, and a little bit of a like wow moment.
Right.
But like I said, that 1 year ago was like the biggest.
Right. Now, there's also been a level of, I think even after everything we've discussed, even after that, feels like there was another level of transformation, or just the level up that happened. That, you know, again, not many people ever get to experience. And I wanted to tap into what the hell is going on in your head during that all, you know?
Yeah.
I remember, you know, got a bunch of, one of my best friends is Marcus Stroman.
Yeah, I know Mark. We played on the WC together.
Yeah.
Like locker mates, because he was number 6, I was number 7.
Yeah.
So like a lot, they don't know those things.
I was there when you guys won it.
Yeah.
And at Dodger Stadium.
Dodger Stadium, yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Pitched his ass off, by the way. In that game.
Did pitch his ass off.
That's the thing about Marcus, man. Like, you want him in a game like that.
Yeah,
he's just like
got big balls.
His personality like lends itself to that.
Yeah.
Just when something about that team, dude, was just like,
yeah,
we were just like,
great
we're not gonna lose that. We're just not gonna lose. Like, we might, but it's just like it's just not happening. Like, I just can't. Well, you woke up that morning and you did batting practice, and you're just like, nah, we might lose, but like, there's just no way.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
we might not.
We're not gonna lose, and we didn't. And,
yeah, love that.
You know, it starts with guys like that with their attitude. But yeah, that's the first time I got to know Marcus, and
he's an interesting guy because
he's a unique guy. I feel like
very unique.
It's one of those guys, like, when he's on your team, like, you love him, you want him in that spot, you know.
Polarizing in the sense, but I've had this conversation with him a ton. I mean, when you know who you are truly, like he's reached the point where he doesn't give a fuck. You know,
and I don't know him on that level. Like, I know him from that 3-week WBC, right? And maybe we've texted once or twice since then.
Yeah.
But that was my sample of him. So I don't know him like on an in-depth level to be like, oh, you know, he's like this or like
solid
that.
Motherfucker.
But my experience with him, man, and whenever anybody asks me, I'm like, yeah, man, I like him.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I watched him put his nuts on the line
right. No, people don't love playing against him, but so be it. You know?
It is what it is, man. Like, sometimes I used to care about like that stuff or whatever. And it's like, dude, just don't even waste your energy on like not liking somebody. Like, if you don't like Marcus, like, then you just don't like him. But don't. Yeah,
what does it matter?
What does it matter, dude? Like, let him do his thing. Like, he's doing him, and like, you just got to worry about you and your team and like trying to win. Like, that comes with playing and maturity and stuff like that, though.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I feel like baseball is a game that demands maturity because it's obviously a failure-heavy sport. Obviously doing what you do more than anything. Even pitchers, though, I feel like there's just...
You fail a lot in pitching, man.
You fail a ton.
they have the same bad luck aspect that you do as a player, you know, and like it's harder for them. Like if you have a couple shitty starts, like it could ruin your whole season.
Yeah, because you let it marinate for a week too.
Well, it's like, dude, if you go out one start, you get up 10 runs or something in one inning, like
you gotta climb back.
Then it's like, dude, that could change your entire season. You know, as a hitter, at least one day is really not gonna make or break your year. You know, maybe if you hit 4 homers or something, it might make your year. But if you go over 4 with 4 strikeouts, that's not the end of your season.
Right.
But if you go out there and you go third of an inning and give up 10, like, dude,
you're fucked.
Yeah.
You're climbing back.
Right. Well, yeah. And you might not even be able to. If you're a relief pitcher and you do that, you actually are fucked. Yeah. Well, you actually are fucked if you give up 10 in a third of an inning, or you see a guy like killer year and then like 5 earned, like a hit batter, walk, hit, like you give up 1, bullpen guy comes in, fucking grand slam, you know? Yeah. And like that's 5 earnings on you right there.
Very humbling game. Very humbling game.
To say the least, man. Like, it's just a game of failure. And honestly, that's why I think it's harder for guys to, like, show that personality or that cockiness or that swagger in baseball. Because, like, if you play the game and you know, like, it's hard to be cocky or have that swagger because you know at some point you're getting your ass handed to you, too. And, like, people can't wait for that to happen.
Wait to shove it up your ass.
Right? And you know it's coming. So it's like, well, what am I going to, like, why am I going to be, like, this outlandish character when I know I'm getting mine at some point in this next 6 months? Like, I might be at the top of the world here, but like this game's coming from my ass too at some point. Like, you're going to have a 2-week stretch where you suck. I sucked last year for 60 games. It comes for everybody at some point, you know, no matter how high or how good you are, like eventually.
I mean, that's a perfect example.
You know?
Because you literally were at unbelievable highs, performance level.
Right.
That I think deep down, you probably knew deep down it couldn't be sustained forever, but you know,
well, it's like I feel like I can play at that level still for a while.
Yeah,
but
totally. I mean, just
no, but I know like it's coming. Like you said, you play this game long enough, man. You know, like you just know it's coming for you. So like people are always like, how come baseball guys don't show personality or like?
Good point.
You know, it's easy. Like if you're in basketball, like you're gonna be like LeBron James is gonna be LeBron James probably every night. Maybe one night might not have a good night. Yeah. You know, Tom Brady is going to be Tom Brady most of the time. In baseball, the best player in the league that year sucked a lot. So it's harder to
failed more often than not.
Right. So it's harder to talk that shit or be cocky or do things that people like or think are cool.
Right.
I mean, you can.
Right.
But
I get it.
Guys are just waiting for that downfall, and it's not like you can do anything to prevent it either.
Right.
Like, man,
how
it's coming.
How often are you dedicating time to your mental? Like, are there practices that you have in your, you know, let's focus season even. Are there things that you're doing on a daily like that I just need that are at least clearing your mind or preparing yourself best mentally, or is it more so just go do what you need to do? You know,
it's just through experience. I think like you ride that roller coaster for so long, and like as players, like you always think, at least when I was like a rookie, like your stress and your pressures are like, I don't want to get sent down, man. Like tomorrow, if I'm in the big leagues tomorrow, it's a great day, you know? Yeah. And that's what wears on you all the time. That's where your stress is, your pressures, your anxiety comes. Like, dude, I don't want to go back to the minor leagues. Because life in the big leagues, so much better than life in the minor leagues. It's like, dude, I gotta do this and stay here. And I remember asking like Juan Pierre I was like, dude, like how do you deal with that? He's like, bro, you just like you gotta find a way. It's different for everybody, and like you can't expend energy wanting it not to happen. Right. You should put your energy, you should allocate your energy to like doing what you need to do to not have that happen instead of worrying about it.
That's like a fear-based versus
right. But as a young guy, like see, I know all this stuff now after I've lived it. I didn't know it then. Otherwise, it would have helped out a lot more. And so I try and talk to our guys about this sometimes. And then when you're an ARB guy, which I was never really an ARB guy, but you can kind of see it.
Yeah, Marcus told me.
Was like, it's all performance based, right? So you're just like, I got a ball, like I got a ball, I got a ball. And like whatever you're going to get paid is based on your performance and comps and all that stuff. And that's what guys are worried about. But you're always like, man, if I could ever just get that big deal, man, like all this stress and pressure would go away. That's not true.
Is that
either.
True?
No, it's not. And because once you get that deal, it's like, all right, like I want to prove I deserve this, or I want to hold up my end of the bargain. Like I'm not somebody that I don't want to be like, I got you, you know, and do that. Like,
I'm done.
Right. No, it's like, dude, like, I want to prove like I want to play good every year of this thing. Like when this thing's done, like I want to have such a good year that last year that whether I keep playing or not is my decision. I don't want it to be like, hey, I can't wait till this dude's contract's up because it's terrible.
Right.
So that's like your stresses and pressure now. It always morphs. It never goes away.
It's a life lesson in that.
But you're always like looking up, like, man, like, if I could just have that, it'd be all right.
It's life.
It's never the truth. It just like reforms itself into that thing. So you should never think like that stuff's gonna change.
So are you able to, I had this conversation with Max a bunch about just the mind, because obviously golf's a very mental game as well. What a lot of the shit you're saying is like about a lot of the books that I preach and talk about, the power of now. Like, are you able to, when you're playing the game, are you able to just focus on the step in front of you? Is that you think that's a big part of what makes you great?
You have to in baseball. Like you have to think on just the daily, man. Like I got to give everything I got today to be as good as I can be today for the team, for myself. Like I got to put it all into today. Like I can't worry about tomorrow. Can't worry about this weekend. I can't look up and be like, oh, we got 6 months to go. Like, nah, dude, it's like put your head down, do this, like dedicate, like what do I need to do today to be successful? Like what does today require from me? And like, let me just do that, put all my energy in that. And like when the day's over, I'm gonna be exhausted and I'm gonna go to sleep, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. Like put your head down long enough. And then at the end of the season, like you look up and be like, oh man.
How challenging is that, especially with such a long season?
It's really hard. I mean, you have good days and bad days, man. Like some days you're like, all right, yeah, no problem. And then other days, like the game's kicking your ass. You're 0 for 20, sucking. And
fucking want a beer.
Right, you're like in the cage. You're in the cage. You've been sucking for a week. You go in the cage that day to do flips or whatever your routine or batting practice, and like you still suck. Like, man, I got to find a way right now. Like I got to make this work. And so it's challenging. All this stuff's so easy to talk about, but to actually practice it's a whole another thing. But I was talking to some guys in the league and other guys and just being around it. And it's like the way you evaluate success as a player and a hitter should be different. Like it shouldn't be like counting stats. Like you're gonna go crazy. Like you're gonna ride that roller coaster. And at the end of the year, you're just gonna be like spent, right? Like the way you should evaluate success in baseball is like, hey man, like did I swing at a strike? Did I swing a good pitch?
Yeah.
Was my approach good?
Yeah.
Like did I hit the ball hard? All controllables in baseball. Right. So much of baseball is out of your hands. Like you could hit the ball 120 miles an hour, but if a guy with a glove standing there, technically that's considered a failure. Or if your bat is detonated into 80 pieces at home plate and there's 2 guys on it, it's a flare into the outfield and you score 2 runs, like that's a success. Yeah. But one of those over the course of 162 games is going to translate to a lot of success, and the other one's not.
Right.
And so it's easier for your sanity and for you to go to sleep at night when you're playing bad if you can quantify if you had a good day or a bad day based on like controllable things.
Right.
And like I didn't used to do that. And
when did that happen?
Just like in the last couple of years when you're just, and like I said, this is one of those things that's easier to said than done because like,
I mean, dude, this is hard for regular people.
Right.
Like just in their lives of like focusing on being present and not worrying about the next thing or worrying.
Right, but in baseball to succeed and to like get a contract and to stay in the game, like you need those counting stats. But the way baseball is evaluated now is like you can hit a fake 300 now. You know, they have all that, like your expected batting average, your whatever launch angle, hard hit rate, all that stuff. So they can be like, all right, this is a legit 300, or like.
Do you like looking at? Do you like understanding the numbers?
Yes and no, but this is the way the game's evaluated now. So like fans are going to judge you probably off what the scoreboard says.
Right.
But the people that run baseball teams in the game, they don't judge you kind of based off the scoreboard.
Right.
Maybe for awards and stuff, you'll be like, if you had a good year like that, then that's how you get judged for that. But as far as getting paid or getting moved up in the minor leagues, or do you get your extension, do you not? It's all based on these analytics and certain sets of numbers that are, you can't really fool them. So why you should evaluate yourself based on that. Right. It's all controllable things.
Right.
And it's like mental warfare for like young guys in the game. Cause like everybody wants, and including myself, dude, I will take my bat being in 50 pieces for a knock and 2 RBIs every day of the week over lining out as a center fielder. Every time. Really? And I'm sure.
So even like,
because it's not going to happen every time, but like, if you want this outcome or you want that outcome, like, of course I want the success and and for us to be winning. But the hard hit ball is going to translate to success more often than not. Like as a
Right.
pitcher, you'd much rather that guy line out than
Totally.
you know, make
Absolutely.
a nasty pitch and you execute what you're trying to do and he gets a flare single. Like, dude,
Just pisses you
like
off.
you're
even
just
more.
like, no, dude, like, yeah, I know I did my job. I know that's over the long term. Like that's gonna equal success. But you're like, dude, no.
Yeah. The moral wins don't really mean anything in the moment. It's about the fucking.
Right. So that's why that stuff's harder to practice than say. Because you
Right.
can say it and like that's the correct way to look at it, 100%.
Right.
But it's really hard, especially when you're grinding. But I think it'll help you grind a little bit less if you look at that. Because at the end of the day, you can evaluate your day and be like, all right, I did a good job, or I fucked this up, or
Do you even think about this? Are you able to separate baseball in your life?
yeah, I feel like I live two different lives. I feel like I live my baseball season.
So if
life.
you suck for 2 weeks straight,
yeah,
or last season,
yeah,
what was your mental like?
at the field, it's a grind, man. Like you're just like, dude, damn,
Right.
you know,
Right.
it's just beating you
Yeah,
down.
it's
and
normal.
You're trying, like, you're giving everything to it, and you're trying to turn it around. It's just
Right.
like it's just not happening for me, and it just didn't feel the same. Like it just
Right.
game wasn't cooperating, which happens sometimes.
Right.
But I always feel like, good or bad, once you shower and you put your street clothes on, that shit's over.
Wash off the
like
bullshit.
stay in your uniform as long as you need,
Yeah.
like to get the game over. Like good or bad,
I like
you
that
want to enjoy.
symbolism.
You want to enjoy the game. Cool. Like we can kick it like this in the locker room, and you can enjoy that game that you just had. You balled out. Awesome. Once you shower, put your street clothes on. Like on to tomorrow. And same when you do bad. Like I've had some really awesome days in the major leagues. Like really high highs.
Yeah.
And even highs that some people haven't experienced or won't experience, like high ass highs.
Oh yeah.
And some pretty low lows, man. You know, where you're just sitting there at your locker, just like rethinking your entire life.
What am I doing?
Sometimes you're
What am
just
I
like,
doing
dude, what just happened, bro? You know,
Yeah.
like you just got embarrassed in front of so many people, and you suck, and you've been bad for so long. But once you shower, man, it's back to that optimism. Like, hey, tomorrow's gonna be better, and like I don't know, maybe you got to be like mentally insane to be that way, and maybe like I
Little
am
delusion.
in a way, like.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes.
That's what it takes.
And like I've found, like that's what works for me, man. It's like I can't take it home with you, good or bad. You just got to be yourself at home, away from the field, with your friends, your family.
I mean, dude, it's challenging.
Yeah.
Bro.
And then when you clock in, like you clock in and you're back to work that day.
Right.
But once it's over, man.
I mean, dude, it's challenging for people in the office job who are getting their ass kicked at work to not bring it home and be a douche to the guy, you know, the cashier, because he's taking forever. You know, that bad energy where you're just in a bad mood and traffic and your wife or whatever it is. Like, you know, even as simple as I have no pressure. I'm making songs in my room, you know, like. But if I don't like what I've done creatively the past week, I'll notice. I'll take inventory and be like, oh, my mood is horseshit generally.
Right.
Like and then when I'm like making some cool shit and I like my creative direction, oh man, I'm flying high. And that's even me knowing. Like I put a lot of emphasis on the mind
But you can't be perfect either.
No.
Like I feel like, because it's almost a conscious choice to make that decision to leave it wherever it's at. You have to be like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do, and like, leave it there. Or you have to check yourself at some point and be like, nah, like I don't like doing this. Like I brought it home, and I don't like it, so I'm never doing that again. Right. Or like I was a dick to the guy bagging groceries, or I was an asshole to this person, or whatever. And like you gotta feel
Self-awareness.
so bad about it afterwards too. Where you're like, what is wrong with you, man?
that's
Like,
self-awareness.
like
is so
check
powerful.
yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And then you just like don't do it again.
Right.
Or like you're like, dude, like I want to go find that guy. Dude, I'm so sorry. Like,
Right.
I was just having this fucking terrible day. But you're human too, and you can't be perfect, and you can't beat yourself up over that either.
Totally.
But it's a conscious decision. Like you gotta just take the time and like, all right, man, like this is work, this is my personal life. Like there has to be this healthy balance, or you're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Right. What have you had, you know, with a life that you've had so far, just obviously the achievements probably superseded things that you even imagined growing up. Have there been hardships in your life that have shaped who you are as much as the successes? Or, you know, like I like asking this question because I feel like both of them are equally powerful, and they're both, you know, could be equally detrimental as well. Like sometimes successes kill people in the sense of their psyche and how they're seeing things, and also hardships can kill people, but I've also learned myself personally and just through all the conversations I've had that they can be unbelievably eye-opening and perspective shifting in a positive way. When you look back at your life, I mean, like I said, you've had tons of successes and these wins that you probably couldn't even fathom having those wins. Are there hardships in your life that you look back at and be like, thank God that happened the way it did? Or has it been have you had more or less, kind of a stability going through? Have there been moments
I feel
where
like it's like subjective, like hardships. Like somebody's hardship, like what you think is a hardship is not a hardship compared to somebody else. It's like it's a weird perspective to have, and like getting to know other people, and you're like, what you think is a hardship,
Absolutely.
Damn, bro, like that's a hardship.
Absolutely.
And so with like that perspective, I feel like I've been pretty fortunate.
Yeah.
Like you said, to be here
Totally.
and be in this position. Yeah, of course, like I've had things in my life that haven't gone according to plan, or like things that sucked, but just like knowing people or like getting to know friends or whoever, talking to others, you're like, damn, bro, like that's a hardship. Like if that happened to me, like it probably would have buckled. It like probably would have buckled me. Like I don't know how you like wake up in the morning sometimes,
Absolutely.
and you're just like, and then it like makes you appreciate what you have so much more, because you're like, dude, like, man, it kind of checks you. It gives you that reality check. Like even when you're in those funks, or like you said, you're having a shitty day at work making songs, or I'm playing baseball, hitting a piece of leather with a stick. It like puts it in perspective like
Absolutely.
that. And you're like, bro, like, I'm so fortunate. Like, you're having a bad day? Why? Because you're playing baseball and it's not going well. Like, too fucking bad, man. Suck it up. You'll be fine. Like that's not a problem.
Yeah. So
and
you have a lot of
real problems.
You have a lot of. It seems like you have a lot of these kind of innately in you, these checks and balances on yourself.
Yeah, I mean, my brother. So, I guess an example. Like my brother was in the military. He's in the Marine Corps, and like they're out in the field for 2 weeks. You dig a hole and you live in it for 2 weeks, and that's your house. And like I'm in the big leagues, you go 0 for 5 with a couple strikeouts, and you're going to check in at the hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton. Really? And you're gonna be like, oh, I had a bad day today, Yeah. When your brother's eating stuff out of a packet, an MRE, add water, stir that shit up, and house it, So you're gonna be like, oh man, poor me. Like I had a bad day today. No, because him and everybody with him will take your bad day every day.
Absolutely.
So you need checks and perspective like that to like, look, man, you gotta be fortunate, appreciate what you have. Does it suck sometimes? Like, of course, like you want to do well and you want to succeed, and people expect things out of you.
That's really cool.
But sometimes like that perspective always helps. Like it helped me a lot when he was in the Marine. He's out now and doing the college thing, but that helped me a lot. Like through, I think I'm having a bad day, or like this sucks, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm it's like, oh,
Absolutely.
really? That shit sucked.
Absolutely.
Like, no.
Yeah, I mean that's why I ask. For me, it's been huge. I actually had to go out of my way to adjust my perspective and look for things. And then once I started to realize, like I would just take inventory of myself and how I felt, and I'd realize, well, this is slowly like really helping my perspective. Just looking around for that.
It comes with age and experience, though. Like you're not gonna have that perspective right away. Like at 16 years old, you're not gonna have that perspective because you haven't experienced life.
Right.
Like you think you have, but you haven't.
Right.
And so the more people that you get to meet, experiences that you have, I think that starts to slowly form in you, and like the way you look at the world and life, and
absolutely
just all that stuff.
Yeah. So when you we had talked about it a little bit.
We got off track big time.
We did. That's what we do anyway. It's fine. The 2018 season.
Yeah.
Just go banana land, and I'm sure it felt like everything was going your way at all times, and it's an unbelievable like access point to get to in your life in general, no matter what you do, but especially in a sport like baseball and a profession where tons of people are watching, and there's tons of money on the line and things that you can do for your family. Put yourself back there a little bit, like what the hell was going on in your head?
I mean, so I always kind of had a feeling that kind of player was inside me. Like it would manifest itself for a week at a time, maybe a game or a swing or a batting practice. But I could never consistently do it when the games. I was always a pretty good player. I was a solid player in Miami.
Yeah.
You know, I was a 285 to 300 hitter with 15 to 20 homers and like 70-ish RBIs, 80 RBIs. It's pretty hard to do that in the big leagues. I was a pretty good player. And like you can make a great career and you can stick around the game for a long time if you just do that all the time. But I always knew, like inside of me, I was like, I can be better. Like I've done this in stretches where I was like, if I could ever just put this all together one day, then maybe we'd be working with something here. Like I always felt that in my heart of hearts, and I was never very outspoken to people about it.
Don't need to be.
But like I just knew, like I was never out there being like, God, like one day, like I'm gonna ball. It's like, no, I never told anybody. It was just in there, like, dude, like, fuck, man, like how come it just like comes and goes like that, or I can't get to it, or.
Interesting.
But I think you learn in your career, and this is why I was so fortunate to be in the big leagues at such a young age. It's like I got like on the job training where, if I was playing for a team at the time that was making a run at the World Series or in contention, like I'm probably not in the big leagues that young. You gotta be way more polished because like when you get called up, it's like, hey man, you gotta produce, and you gotta produce at a high level on a championship team.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
or you're out.
Or you're out, yeah. Or you might not even get the opportunity because like we're not even gonna see what this young guy has. We gotta go with the veteran guy because we're going for it, and that happens all the time. But I was in a position where I was like, hey man, like learn on the job, and so I kind of learned what made me good, what I did when I had some struggles. Was fortunate enough to be around Mattingly a lot, Barry, and
that's pretty fucking cool.
In 2018, and so I learned stuff from all of them. And in 2018, like I made the All-Star team in the first half. I had a pretty good first half. And I was kind of struggling going into the break though. I wasn't feeling great at the plate. I was like, whatever, man. It's like it's probably 100 games in. Like you're just grinding to that break. Right. Made the game.
Which is a huge accomplishment.
Right. It was my first time being an All-Star. So it was like, I was pretty stoked on it. I was like, this is pretty sick, dude. Like I never thought I'd be an All-Star. I went to the 2010 All-Star game at Angel Stadium after I got drafted. And someone was like, yeah, man, if you're ever out there, you're going to have to like video it and like experience it. Like, if I'm ever out there, like, I'm never going to be an All-Star. What are you talking about? Like, I'm just trying to I'm trying to make it to the big leagues first, you know?
Crazy.
And so I was like, all right, I'm going to the All-Star game. This is really cool. And just took in everything, just all the experiences, the home run derby, played in the game, actually had a homer in that game. Which,
sorry for partying.
Yeah, my bad. I closed my eyes and I threw it off my bat, and like I was like, "Oh my god, it's a homer!"
That's
and just
sick.
like running around the bases, like, "Holy shit, I just hit a homer in the All-Star game!"
Wow.
And but that didn't have any translation. Like a lot of people think like that homer somehow like put me in the zone for the second half. And like the All-Star game, you have the home run derby, the game. The next day is usually like a travel day to get to either back to your home city to open up the second half or go to wherever you're going to be. And then there's like another off day where usually it's an optional workout day for guys that didn't play in the game or guys that are coming back from wherever they went on the All-Star break. You do like a BP and throw again and do that whole deal. And I was like, man, like I didn't feel great going in the second half. Like I felt good in the All-Star game because you got all that adrenaline, and I hit a homer. I was like, man, like I just want to see like what do I do when I'm like having success and like driving the ball. And like I kind of had a picture in my head, and I was just sitting there. I was living by myself at the time, and just like, all right, man, like where's my iPad? Like going on there and like looking up old videos, like looking at times when I drove the ball. Like, are there any like consistencies here? Like, what is it? Like, why do I hit a homer on this pitch right now? And a couple frames later, I'm smothering this thing and hitting the second baseman a fungo right now. Like what is going on?
Yeah.
And like I just found like I was getting in this position to hit and like give myself a chance. And I was like, if I could just do that all the time. And like I was pretty spread out at the time. Like my stance was pretty wide, right? And in high school, like when I was in the big league at the time, I was probably like this far apart. And then like in high school, I was like this, like real tall, like straight up, and just like lift my leg and hit. And like that's what I did because it felt natural to me.
Right.
I was like, man, I can get in a good, consistent position here all the time. and just like let my athleticism and my swing just like work for me.
Right.
And just be consistent, like get in this spot and just do it. And it's like, I think I can do it. Just like sitting there like, I don't know why I can't just do that. So the next day I went to the cage and doing flips. And I was like, told our hitting coach, hey man, like, I'm gonna try some crazy shit right now. Like, don't say anything for like 15 swings. Just like let it happen. It's me getting loose. Like I'm just getting loose right now. Just like let this shit happen. Like this is what I want to do. And he's like, all right, like whatever, bro. Like it's probably a terrible idea. You just made the All-Star team. Like why the fuck are you changing something right now? Usually that's like, hey buddy, this is not like no.
Yeah. Bad.
Stop doing that right now. Whatever you thought you were about to do, no. Yeah. He was like, all right. I was like, yeah, do that shit. Okay, got in there. Just like, rock it.
Crazy.
Rock it. I was like, really? And I was like, fuck it. I'm doing this in batting practice too. Best BP I'd taken all season. Like driving the ball is true. Like backspin the right way. I was like, huh. We were facing Rich Hill that night from the Dodgers. Like, well, I ain't got shit to lose here. Like, this is coming from here. It's coming from here.
Tough guy to hit.
7 different curveballs, fastballs. Like, what do I got to lose? You know? First at bat, like, laid off some tough pitches, double. Like, drove it pretty good to the pull side. All right, that's pretty good. Next at bat, like, fastball and kind of just flew out to left. Like, that's a pretty good pass. And then got 2 more hits that night. It kind of gave me the confidence, like, oh man, like, I might be onto something, and like to stay with it. And you can kind of see, like, if you watch my second half, kind of see it just like morph. Like the stance isn't what I thought it was in my head in the game yet. But then a couple weeks later, like the end of August, beginning of September, I was doing what I was envisioning in my head. It just took me a while because like that's how your body and brain work. Right. But it was trippy, man. And I was just like, I want to try this, and just trying it and trying to be consistent, and like having thought processes from past coaches, and like you said, talking to Donnie and Barry, and we had a guy who's the White Sox hitting coach right now, Frank Menachino. And then with our guys at the time, it was Darnell Coles and Jason Lane. And just like taking stuff from all that made sense to me, and like my thought processes and stuff at the plate is different than what somebody else is going to think and do. Like what I think to achieve something is different than what you would think to achieve something. But we might be getting to the same place. And like it kind of just, I was like, all right, like I'm doing something here. Like I'm finally kind of taking this next step as a player that I always knew was in there. And it was just for me, like looking
a good feeling
at this stuff and be like, I want to just try this. And like I was convicted in it though. It wasn't me like looking at this like, I'm going to try this and see if we can do something crazy here. It was like conviction behind it and thinking like,
that's a key.
Yeah. And I was like I really am passionate about this. Like I feel like this is, for whatever reason, I feel like I can do this. And like I think it's a good idea. Which, like I said, is dangerous when you make the All-Star team. Like I can go the other way in a hurry.
Swing adjustments are like a big,
especially mid-season.
Huge.
It's a terrible. That's an off-season thing most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, take 5 months and do this the right way. Not like take 24 hours and go roll it.
Are you thinking when you're in the box?
I think about like when to start and like my approach or situation wise, but I'm not a big like in-game video guy and try and make like drastic adjustments in game, because I think a lot of times like the swing you got that day is the swing you got, so you got to figure out how to make it work. Like you can't just like, oh man, thinking about my hands, or like am I standing like this in the box? I've done it before. It's just like it doesn't work. So you just got to work with what you got that day.
Feels like
the
amount of swings you've taken in your lifetime. You know, like when you get in the box, thinking at that point, it's kind of null and void. It's like, at least about your swing.
You got what you got, and like, dude, it was like such a weird feeling. Like I was just like in a zone there. Like it was just like,
you went
so like
nuts.
Focused and like all this stuff, and
great, man.
It was weird though. Like that changed my life. That August and September changed my entire life, my entire career. Everything. That one day of looking at this video and trying to make this change in that cage.
Isn't it crazy?
Changed everything, bro. Like,
isn't it crazy? The intuitive. You said something that struck a chord with me, and you have a lot of innate things that guide you the right way, obviously, but thinking about, oh, I went back to what was natural. Like when I was a kid, I got, because that was what's natural. And there's something about natural, in the sense of like, I connected with intuition in a sense. Like you had an intuitive feeling come from inside you. I like regard the intuition as like our guide. Like I don't think any of the things that are truly intuitive to us are happening as an accident. I think the people that follow their intuition the most usually end up where they're supposed to be. It might not be how everyone else wanted them to go. There's some guys, I think of Johnny, where Johnny, from the outside looking in, everyone regards him as a failure. But deep down, I know it, just because I'm very close with him, he no longer had a passion for playing. He hated it. And it actually drove him to a point of addiction and wanted to escape, the reality of like needing to be this person that he didn't want to be, But to your point of like that intuition of, it's so odd. Like you get that feeling one day and you're like, let me check, let me look back at these videos, and then you have that gut feeling and you go do something, changing your swing in the fucking middle of an all-star year.
Right.
If
you had a camera on me in that house, just like looking down at me, like this guy's out of his fucking mind. Because I was probably locked in on that video, that iPad for hours, bro, and just standing up by myself, like trying to do what I was thinking, like in a mirror. Like I still do that all the time in the hotel. Like I could wake up at like 3:30 in the morning and go stand in front of a mirror and like try and figure something out if I'm like sucking, because I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Can't stop thinking about it.
Right. Are you a visualizer, or have you ever meditated?
Yeah. I don't really meditate, but like I'm very visual. Like I can think of stuff. Like if I watched you hit and like I liked something that you did, and I was like, man, if I could like try and get my body to do that. Or like I watch somebody that hits similar to me, and it'll be like, oh yeah, shit, like
Interesting.
I gotta do that. Like he's locked in on that right there, and that's why that round of BP was really good. Or like, oh, that's what he did right there. That's why that swing wasn't what he wanted it to be. And like I can see that and like try and copy that with my body. And like whether I do it or not, sometimes that thought process will get you locked in or like get you back to what you need to do, or like those little subconscious reminders.
Right.
And like that's kind of how my mind works with this baseball thing. It's like I just like see guys do things, or like I think of like I want to be in this position, or like I want to do that. And I try and get myself in that position and be able to do that, or like have that thought process. And like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
And in that case it worked, but even now I still do it, and I don't know. That's just how my mind works.
Right.
It's probably unique. I don't know if a lot of guys do that. Maybe they do, but that's how I think about it. And then, like I said, that changed my mind. Like changed my life so much. Those 2 months, dude. Like everything. Like I could go do whatever I wanted in Milwaukee from September, or not September, from April till literally July. I could go to the grocery store. I could go to the Third Ward. I could go to the public market, walk around, like do whatever. We have this like community outreach program where they give you $500 and you give it away to people. Like, here's $100, man. Like, take it. And like I was trying to give away my money, and people were like, "Oh man, like I don't want it.
Money's no good here."
No, like what's the catch? You know, like in like May.
Yeah.
Bro, literally nothing. I'm giving you $100 to like better your day. It's like a community act of kindness thing. Like, my name's Christian. I play on the Brewers. This is the initiative we have. Like, here's $100. Like, do something great with it. If you don't want it, you're free to give it away to somebody else or something. But like, this is $100, just like bettering the community kind of. And like I tried to like sell people to take a free $100, in May.
Yeah.
And at the end of September, I have 45,000 people chanting MVP in a stadium, right? So like, you go from that to that, it's like a mind-blowing world. Like your whole world's like completely different.
Did it fuck your psyche up at all, or were you just like?
The first time it happened to me, I got so nervous. Like I was like, holy shit! Like this whole stadium's chanting MVP for me. Like, don't strike out, right? And then it's something that I started to like feed off of. Like it was nuts. Like I wish everybody could experience that feeling. Like it's a high. I don't do drugs or nothing like that.
Yeah.
But this shit was a high, bro. Like when you're in a stadium that's sold out and the whole place is chanting MVP for you, and you're on this stage in front of everybody, and you're crushing it, and like they were chanting that. I'd hit a homer, the place would go nuts. You hit for the cycle, go crazy. Sheesh. And you're just sitting there, like you talk about like after games, like going home and it's quiet by yourself. You'd be in a house like this, like it's quiet by yourself, and it's like, what is going on right now, bro? Like what is happening?
Crazy.
Like Yeah. You're still you. Like, you're still you.
Yeah.
You're that kid that was in high school, like, chasing that dream. You're just like, bro, what is happening?
Yeah.
This whole place is going. My family is, like, at the end of the season, we play against the Tigers, and, like, whole place is going nuts in a huge series and hitting big homers in front of it. And you're just like you're just, like, sitting there.
Yeah.
After the game or, like, after that stuff happens, you're just like, what is this, dude? Like, it's like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to unwind and go to your normal self where you could relax and go to bed, or were you just so amped up from the whole thing?
It would take me a little bit longer because I was just like, dude,
yeah, no, I know that.
I was like, just like, what is happening? It's probably a similar feeling of like playing a show in front of like a sold-out stadium or something.
It's such an eerie thing.
And
you go from it's exactly that, and then
I fucking loved it though, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like the fact that like, oh, I'm the man. It was just like, I'm feeding off this right now, and I think that's why like kept me like locked in, because you're like, these people like expect this out of you now.
Right.
Like, you gotta stay locked in. You gotta stay on this. Like, our team's in the hunt for like this to win the division, and it was just like such a magical time. And I try to enjoy it as much as I could, because like, you know, like this isn't happening all the time. Like, this is a small moment.
It can be very challenging to enjoy it though.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
It can be not only in the moment. It can be intimidating, like you said.
It was. Yeah, for the first few times, I was
doing.
like, first few times, like, dude, what is going on?
It's also something very challenging, and there's something very symbolic about, you know, you're on that stage, and then you fast forward 2 hours later, and you're just in that room by yourself, and it's fucking quiet. It's such an interesting feeling. It can be.
I don't know
challenging.
how do you describe that? Like, you literally are there in front of 45,000 people winning a baseball game that like everybody's passionate about. Like in Milwaukee, awesome fans. Dude.
Yeah.
Like, it is. They're behind you. Like, the city cares.
Absolutely.
They feed off that. It's just like, I don't know. You're an entertainer for sure.
Yeah.
But you just like had that crazy experience, and then you like go home and like you shut the car door and it's like quiet, and you go home and you open your house and it's like quiet.
Take a shit like everyone else.
And you're just sitting there like, man, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
It's cool that you were able to, you know, to have that outlook. 'Cause a lot of people get so engulfed in it, where like if you're able to just draw yourself out and be like, wow, like really enjoy it in the sense of, at least acknowledge.
That was a time. Those were the times though when you like look back, when you're in it, you know, like you're in it, you're competing, and you're trying to like, you know, almost trying to like block those chants out and focus on what you're supposed to do in the game situation or at the time. And then you come back and then like you reflect on it, or you see a highlight or something, and you're just like, man.
Yeah.
You know, like even now, like today, if I see like a replay of that homer or something, like it like takes you back to that time, and like you're just like, dude, that was so wild.
That was me.
That was me. Like, that was wild. But then, like I said, the way my life changed so much that year, from like the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, to like the end of the year. Like 2018 was a mind-blowing year for me, man. Like, I never thought like, All-Star game, the MVP was the furthest thing from my mind. Like, did I think I was gonna win MVP at the All-Star game? Hell no. I was probably like, I was sitting at the All-Star game like, these guys are cool. Like, these guys are all real good players. Like, in the locker room, like, man, these guys are doing it, man.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, yeah, I'm here too, kind of.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, oh, I'm the MVP. Like, hell no, you know?
Wow.
And even from the middle of July till September, like, that changed so much.
Yeah, your notoriety in the city must have just gone fucking through the roof.
Yeah, and it was weird. It was wild, dude. Like, I'm super appreciative for it, and like, I love, like, that's part of the reason why I want to stay with the Brewers, and like, I love the fan base there. I love the city. It's a great sports town.
Fucking Middle America, man. I've spent so much time in Middle America.
Awesome, bro.
Yeah.
And like, I love it, and I'm so appreciative of the fan base, and it's crazy. But like I said, I could walk around, do whatever I wanted, and it was like no big deal, whatever, bro. And now it's different, but it just kind of comes with it, and it is what it is.
Did you miss that?
At times, like, I get kind of weird about it. Like, I won't go do things because I'm like, man, like, I just don't want to get seen right now. Like, grocery shopping for me is like weird. Like, I want to go grocery shopping because like I'm like, I'm a grocery shop, and like people are gonna like look in my cart, and like they're gonna tell their friends, like, I saw him at the grocery store and like he was buying
Lunchables.
Like, he was buying like whatever, and like it's not a big deal. Like, who cares if someone sees your shit? But like,
no, I get it.
But like, for whatever reason, like, I have like that thought, or like, I don't know if it was that like social anxiety, or like not really, or maybe a form of it. Yeah. Or you're like, I don't know if I want to go to this. I don't know if I want to go to this like restaurant here, and like, order this because
Yeah.
like then
I mean,
people are gonna
especially-
see me here and like, no, I did that. So like,
You're so mild mannered too.
I'm
you
just
know?
gonna order Postmates or like,
Yeah.
and my Postmates is under a fake name.
Yeah.
It's my two buddies. It's like two of my best friends' names combined.
Innovative.
Right? And you know, I do like the Instacart thing, so I don't go to the grocery store and like weird things like that. And I'm like, why are you doing that?
It's not so weird though. I get it.
But it's like I don't care. Like if someone comes and says hi to me or like wants to take a picture, like I don't ever say no. Like I always say hi. I take a picture almost every time. Sometimes like whatever. There's sometimes circumstances where you just can't do it.
Right.
But most of the time, like yeah, I'm cool about it. Like I don't have a fear of people saying hi to me or talking to me or like I don't dislike it. Like I love when people say hello or like say they're huge fans of either myself or the team or whatever. Like it's awesome. I'm sure you're the same way. But for whatever reason, I don't know why I think that way. Like I just won't go to the grocery store. Like
Is it something you want to change about yourself?
Like maybe, but
Yeah, then you should.
like I don't know though. Sometimes I'm like, nah, like it's just.
There's a certain level of
because you have to be on. I think like when you do that, like you can't just be like chilling, like going through the grocery store. Like you're on, bro. Like you know, you have to be aware of like all your surroundings. Like you're gonna have to talk to people. You gotta be cool. Like you gotta be nice. Like no matter what kind of day you're having, like you gotta be on. And I think that sometimes is why like I
can be intimidating.
remove myself from that situation because I'm just like I don't know, dude. Like
Right.
maybe not.
And
Today.
you've lived your whole life, you know, different.
But if I'm with people, like if me and you went to,
you'd be fine.
Me and you went to a restaurant and got food, whatever. It's just like when I'm by myself. I don't know why.
I get it. I don't go many places alone. I'm the same, and I'm not even that. I'm not like not even close to very notable. But it's just I get it. I get what you're saying.
And like I don't think I'm an A-list celebrity or anything by any means. But like it's just like I don't know why. Like now that we're talking about it and thinking about it, I'm like, dude, like why don't you do that?
Yeah.
It's so stupid. But
I've actually challenged myself to do more things alone.
mm-hmm.
I have, and I've actually I've found it to be a pretty interesting project on myself.
How's that going?
Good. I mean, I live a very different life. You know, I have a guys. You know, I'm an independent artist, especially, which is very rare. And all the guys, my point is like I have a team of buddies, but they're also not even my employees. They work on my team. So I'm usually in a house. Like I still kind of live like I'm in college. You know what I mean? Like I at least have 2 or 3 guys with me that help produce my stuff or, you know, all the things we do. So I've gone out of my way to like, at least like go to a yoga class by myself. Like I used to think like, oh, what if there's like fans there and I look like an idiot? Like I've had those thoughts, you know?
Exact same thing.
I've started forcing myself to do it and I've actually enjoyed it, you know? Not to say that I do it all the time, but I'm definitely like enjoyed the process of trying to work on it.
But if you think at like a baseline level, if you want to go to the yoga class and do the yoga class and someone thinks you're an idiot, who cares?
Yeah,
like,
fucking go.
Like it's your life, you know?
Exactly.
Enjoy it. Like do that
You don't want to be prisoner to your circumstances and albeit they're great circumstances.
100%. And I'm not saying like you said, I'm not trying to say that this is a burden or poor woe is me. It's just like you catch yourself thinking like weird like that sometimes. You know, like, why do I do that? And
I think it's pretty human of us or of anyone really to I talk about this a decent amount, but the concept of fame or just it's a man-made concept, right? Like this is like a man-made construct, and I would argue it's not natural for humans to be one human to be looked at by tons of other humans, you know, and garner their attention, you know, in the celebrity aspect. It's like I think there's a reason like celebrities have tough times navigating it because it's challenging. It's hard to be on all the time. It's hard to like feel like everyone's looking at me. And people have anxiety when that's not the case. Never mind when you walk in, no matter what kind of day you're having, you're gonna have people coming up to you, engaging you, sometimes fucking with you, you know, whatever. Like it's not a natural thing. So I think it's fairly normal.
yeah,
you know?
it's actually helped me like in like I told you like our notoriety and whatever is percentage of what some people's is, you know. But when those people like the crazy famous people like do some crazy shit, you're like kind of can see how that happened now.
Yeah.
You know? Like
I mean,
because if you apply what happens to you times 100, you're like, I can see how this dude
I'm good
just went
buddies
off
with
the-
Post.
Yeah.
Very close with him and probably one of the more notable guys in the country, you know, in the world, like just with his look too. And it's very, very challenging for him, especially he's got a lot of normalcy to him innately, like who he is as a person. And to see what's happened just to him, you even like just talk about not being able to go fucking anywhere.
Right.
Like he can't go fucking anywhere without being bombarded. and it's scary. It is. It's definitely like you can understand how challenging it can be, and honestly, it's guided some of my business decisions. You don't have control. Like, look, you go and ball out, your shit's going up. Where some of my business decisions, like I've notably went out of my way to kind of. I like living the way I live. I love walking down the beach and maybe the few people will say hello. Like that's great. I find a lot of value in like the normalcy of my life, almost as much as the touring and the girls and the part, the rah-rah of it all. Like I get a lot of life energy from that. I definitely enjoy it. But I get a lot of life energy from like being with my buddies and going and getting lunch and the things that make us feel right.
You should enjoy it too, because like there's gonna come a day where nobody gives a shit again, and you're gonna go back to being like, oh yeah, like hey man, like yeah, Mike's a cool dude. Like he used to make some good music back in the day. He hasn't done it in a long time. Or like hey, Christian used to play baseball, man. Sometimes he was good, sometimes he wasn't, but that's what he did for a while. Like, what's up, dude? Like it's my neighbor.
Yeah,
that's what's good. That's gonna happen one day.
Yeah.
So you should like. You shouldn't look at it as like it's like some burden or you don't like it, because like it's a phase of your life and a chapter of your life, and you should just experience it and live it. And then like when it's done, and it is what it is. And like for myself, I wouldn't want to look back on it and be like, man, like I wish I experienced this more. Like I wish I was like I just accepted it and just like lived it. And
next time we're gonna go to yoga class, just fucking go.
Right, just go, man. Like hey, like just live your life, and like what comes with that, it comes with that. And like I said, because it's a phase, it's gonna end at some point, and you're gonna be like,
no, you're really spot on.
It
was interesting. I wanted to ask you about this, being such a kind of a mild-mannered guy, and the shit you just mentioned about like, sometimes I don't even want to. I want to, I'll just fucking Postmates because I don't want to.
Yeah.
What was it like having your hog out in front of a whole room for the body?
Yeah, dude. Hey.
Like once I realized you did that, I was like, I wouldn't peg you as a guy to do it, but I think it's dope you did.
Well, that's kind of why I did it.
Yeah.
Like it goes back to the thing of like just experience this stuff. Like you have all these opportunities that come with like all these cool doors are now open, like that you never thought would ever be open.
Yeah, it is a really interesting.
So like look inside them every once in a while, and because originally when they offered me the body issue, I said no. But the girl that does PR and stuff for me was like, all right, well, that's cool, but I'm not going to tell them no for, like, I forgot how many days. I'm giving you this many days. Think about it, Because I originally wanted to do it during the off season. Because, like, I want to, like, if you're going to, like you said, you're going to go just full nude for everybody and a shit ton of people are going to see this. Like, I want to be ready for it. Like, I want to prepare. Like, I don't
diet, workout.
Right, or just like, yeah, I'm ready for it. I feel good about what I'm throwing out there. And so they came to me in like July and were like, you got like, can you do it in like 4 weeks? I was like, well, I haven't worked out since February.
You don't lift during the season?
No, I'm trying to this year, because like you have to play when you get older, you got to take care of your body and do stuff. And like, I didn't lift during the season for like certain reasons, but it's a long story. But at that point, I wasn't working out and I hadn't worked out in months.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to do what? And they're like, yeah, the body issue. And I was like, no. When I told you I want to do the body issue, that was like in December or January. Like, that ship is all the way sailed now. I was like, tell them I'll do it next off season. Like, all right, I'll tell them next off season. Like, they said no. They said 4 weeks. Or it was like, you can do it in, it was like a week or like 4 weeks, whatever it was. I was like, shit. Tell them 4 weeks.
So we just hog out the whole time, or did?
Yeah, it's like 4 hours, bro. So how that works is
nice.
Yeah.
Nice experience.
So, and there's like 25 people on set too.
Decent amount.
Oh yeah, and so
it's a healthy amount.
So I was like, once I originally like I asked like some buddies and stuff. I was like, should I do this? I was expecting them all to be like, hell no.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, hell yeah, and I was like, what? Like, yeah, you gotta do that. Man. And I was like, well, it's easy for you to say because you're not the one that's got to do it.
Yeah.
Which is true to an extent. And I was like, man, like I don't know, bro.
I would have needed a fluffer for that one.
I was like, yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Someone's gotta help me out here.
I was like, I'm gonna do it. And so I had like my 4 weeks to like, I didn't really kind of get ready because I was like, I can't blow out here because I'm lifting in the season to do this naked photo shoot.
Right.
Like, someone's gonna be like, how'd you blow out?
Priorities.
I was like, well, here, listen up, man. Like, I was getting ready for this pretty sweet nude photo shoot. So I was hitting the weights a little harder, and that's why I blew out. Like, I'm sorry, like Brewers fans and my teammates. Like, that's not gonna fly. So like, I tried to work out, but could only do so much.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that is good enough. I should be fine. And I went into it not being weird about it though. I was like, this is what it is. These people do this all the time. If you go into this shy and nervous and awkward, it's gonna suck. Like it's gonna turn out terrible.
Right.
You made the decision to do it, like fucking rock it. Like it is what it is, you know. So when you go to the set, you get that like the white robe, you know, that says like ESPN Body Issue on it, and like here you go, buddy, and you get some sandals that say Body Issue on it too. So you put that robe on, and like that's it, bro.
That's it,
you go
baby.
sit in like the hair and makeup chair. Like they didn't really do much. They kind of just like make sure your hair is in place, and they put that little powder stuff on you, so you don't have the glare. And they're like walk you through the set, and there's like 4 different sets set up, and they're like telling you what you were gonna do at each one. Like, all right, cool. So go to the trailer. It's like a full-on production. Like it's catered. Like it's an actual production. It's a lot of people on it. And so I went up there, and they were like, "Do you want to practice in your robe?" I was like,
let's do this.
yeah. I was like, no.
Let's do this.
Like,
I'm
let's
rocking
go.
right
So
now,
I remember
guys.
actually walking from like the hair and makeup trailer. It was in an abandoned warehouse in Milwaukee, is where the shoot was on an off day during the season.
Romantic.
Yeah, and so like all my teammates knew I was doing this. Like council knew I was doing this. Like everybody was like, "Hey man, like how's your off day gonna be tomorrow? You having a good time?" Like, yeah, man, it's gonna be great. Like they couldn't wait for this shit to come out. 'Cause they were gonna fuck with me hard on it.
Yeah.
Which you know is gonna happen.
Yeah, of course.
But so on that walk from the trailer like up the stairs to the set, like your heart starts going a little bit. You know, it's like it starts beating, and you're like, "Oh man, we're really doing this." You know, like it wasn't real. Like it wasn't really real until like now. And I was like, whatever. Like I don't care. Like you know. Like, oh well.
Yeah.
And
love it. Yeah, my buddy. I've been to a park.
and then so we just went out there and did it. And like, you're pretty much naked for 4 hours in front of everybody. Like you have this makeup girl that she follows you around everywhere. Like you know, you get dirty from the set. They're like baby wiping you off and like all that stuff. And like they do it all the time though. It's like super professional, and it was cool. And honestly, out of all the things I've done in like production days and like shoots and stuff, favorite thing I've ever done, that.
Wow.
It's the most fun I've ever had at anything ever. Like
That's probably very surprising to you too. Going into, you're like a little nervous.
yeah, I was pretty nervous about it, but I was pretty excited too. I was like, this is cool. Like I'm at a point in my life where I can do this, and like I don't know.
How many people go nude for ESPN? It's a small crop.
And I was like, man, oh well. I was way more nervous for that. I had to do it. I did a spray tan before the night before. I was way more nervous for that than the shoot. Like way more, you know?
Hey, a little tan adds some size.
Well,
you
like
know?
you just gotta be tan. Like I was just like, damn, bro. Like I don't know how to spray tan works. I never got a spray tan in my life, you know? So I went to this place, like hat, hoodie. It was like closed.
Yeah.
And like
Sunglasses.
yeah, like seriously, like head down, like nobody see me doing this. And
Yeah.
just like went in there. I was way more nervous for that than the actual shoot.
Hilarious. I've actually been to the ESPN body party. I'm buddies with Sagan, Tyler Sagan. I don't know if you're hockey guys, but we gave him a bunch of shit for it. His picture in his issue was like, I think he was on like a Zamboni, and he had a fucking lollipop, and he's ass naked. I'm like, this is hilarious. But he had a similar experience. He loved it.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if you go into that, like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do this, or I'm like nervous about it. It's not
Yeah,
gonna
you're right.
be
It will
good.
reflect.
Yeah, and like they tell you about it. Like those people have seen so much and they've seen it all the time. They're like, hey man, like you were cool. Like you know, like you had a good time. Like you were easy to work with. Like you had fun. Like you weren't shy about anything.
Right.
People that go into that like shy and reserved or don't want to do that, they're like uncomfortable about it. Like doesn't come out the same. It doesn't come out good. Like if you're gonna do that, like, hey man, like this is what you knew what you're signing up for. So like, hey, don't get scared now. And I think being an athlete actually probably helped me with that, just because like the whole locker room atmosphere. And, like, everything that goes on with
it's like
that.
normalized.
Like being naked around people was like, all right, like whatever now. You know,
Right.
you've done it for so long.
Totally.
You know, you've been on a team for
I think that's
almost 12
probably
years.
not being naked in locker rooms, but the dynamic of the locker room is one of the best parts of sports. That camaraderie that's built. It's like a family. It's like another family, you know. And
right. It's hard to explain and understand.
It
unless
is
you've
hard
been
to
a part
explain.
of it. Like people are like, what do you mean, like a locker room? Like, oh, frat boys. Like, no, it's not even close to that.
yeah,
Like,
nah.
it's just
you guys are all like just doing so much of the similar things, and you're just all your intentions are aligned. All the things that you guys want to happen are aligned for each other.
You're pulling for each other.
Yeah.
You experience similar things.
It's a real feeling though. And I actually went out of my way once I started. I mean, I had a very weird life, but the transition into music happened like almost abruptly, and that was the first thing I yearned for, and I made sure, like, these guys have been with me for 8 years. I've literally like needed to create the team atmosphere, and like it had that element again, and it made the transition that much easier for me.
I mean, when you talk to people that are done playing and stuff, like that's what they miss the most.
Right.
Like, they miss the game, but they really miss like the locker room or the flights or the bus rides or the dinners. Like that's what people miss. You know,
it really is special.
And just, I think being in that atmosphere for so long and like going on that set and everything was like, all right, this is cool. Like, piece of cake.
Right.
Is what it is.
Right.
Like, you have 5 minutes of awkwardness, and then after the 5 minutes is over, everybody's seeing what you're working with.
Yeah.
And you're just
The
like,
mystery's gone.
yeah, it's gone. And you're like, all right, dude, it is what it is. Like, let's do this thing and like try and like
trying to
make
kill
it come up. And it's a weird experience though, man. And like, I always tell people, like, if you get the opportunity, like, some people are like, no, I would never do that. Like,
You got to
get the
do shit that
experience to do it.
scares you, man.
And there's like a TV like that at the set. And so like they take a picture and like it pops up on there.
Then you're looking
You know?
at it like, wow.
No, well, sometimes like, sometimes like you like mess up the jump or something. You're like, oh, we can't use that one, you know? Like, next, like, do it again.
Yeah.
And so like I had like a jumping one on the wall. I probably jumped on that wall like 50 times, dude. Like every shot was done so many times because you got to get it just right.
Right.
And like they don't Photoshop it or anything either, because I went into that, like, part of me why I wasn't
Yeah,
nervous.
beef me up a little bit, guys.
Like, that's part of why I wasn't nervous, because like there's no way they like make you look bad, you know? Like,
Right.
they'll for sure like Photoshop it or touch this thing up a little bit. Nah, they're like, no, we don't do that. This is art. Like, the human form is art. Like, the athletic form comes in so many different shapes and sizes. Like, it's art.
Right.
And once they said that, I was like, oh, shit. Uh-oh. You know?
Fuck the art.
I was like, oh, man, yeah. I was like, just Photoshop that, man. Like, come on. Like, no. Like, this is art. And that's when I was like, huh?
You probably did you feel a level of like confidence or freedom from doing something that you felt was like your gut reaction said no and it was challenging and different? Did you feel like walking out of there like, you know, almost like you had a 3 for 4 day,
Yeah,
where
dude,
like
a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, exactly.
Feeling. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe like a huge accomplishment, but it was like for the next few days,
yeah,
I was like, it was just like a different experience. Like,
Really?
you just
Yeah.
like felt like better about everything. Like hell yeah, dude.
what's
like,
that's
to do things that you don't think you can do or like will do, and then you do it and it's over with and you accomplish
it was
it.
better than you thought it was
And
gonna
you're
be.
like, damn, dude, I'm so glad I had that experience and I did it and I didn't say no. Because I said no. I did say no.
That's really cool.
You know? And then a couple days later, I said yes. And then once I experienced that, I was like, damn,
Really cool.
I'm really glad.
Challenge yourself to
I'm really
continue
glad that I didn't say no to that, because I wouldn't have this experience. I wouldn't be talking to you about it right now. I'd be like, dude, this shit was awesome. And like, I loved it. And like, I'm so thankful for doing it. And yeah, man, like, it's
really cool.
It was wild.
Yeah, because challenge yourself to continue to do things like that as they appear. I think anyone listening, I mean, look, your life's gonna be a lot different than Christians in a lot of ways, but at the same time, little windows of opportunity to do something different, break the stagnation, break the, you know, there's a certain element to life that becomes very redundant, the rat race element of it, like, and you know, obviously life requires a lot of task doing. There's things you have to buckle down, do shit you don't want to do, etc. But when you have opportunities to experience new things, fucking go for it. You know, go for it. Then I feel like most people I sit here and talk to, in one way or another, they have that in them where they go and challenge themselves. They rise to the occasion and challenge themselves. And I feel like
Life's about going for it, man. Like, you gotta take some sort of risk sometimes, and like, there's not really, like, there's no sure thing, right? There's no sure thing in life. Like, everything you do comes with an element of risk, right? So like, go for it. Like, don't sacrifice and do something that like maybe like the percentages or the odds say like is a better chance of happening. Like, if you really want to do something, like, do it and go for it. And like, that was my outlook on baseball. When I got drafted, I was like, I'm gonna know if I can do this shit pretty quick. I was like, on 2-3 years, like, I'm gonna sign, and like, I'll know like maybe like I won't be done or released or not, but like in your heart of hearts, you're gonna know like I can hack it or I can't.
Right.
You can't fool yourself. Like you're gonna know. Like you might not admit it to other people, but like, you're gonna know. And so I always looked at it like that, and I was like, I'm gonna give everything I got to this and see. And the risk to that was like, dude, I could be like a 26-year-old freshman in college if this doesn't work out, you know.
Which is real.
Starting over.
Which is very real.
I was like, well, what am I gonna do? Not do it? Like,
Right.
of course I'm gonna do it.
Of course.
And
Well, fucking panned out, buddy.
yeah, it did. But like at the time, I was like, I don't.
It wasn't definite. That's
Yeah,
the
it
point,
wasn't
though.
like oh yeah, for sure. Like you just sign your name on this contract and you're gonna be in the show.
Yeah.
No way.
So you got a house in Malibu. You got a house out here. You're building in both places. Exciting times. It's
Yeah.
The next phase of life is getting those I'm building in Nashville now, and it's been an interesting little part of my life. Let's end on this. When baseball's over, what do you want it? What do you want? Are you even looking at life? I know we talked about taking it a day by day, and obviously you're right in the fucking thick of your career. Obviously, you're still a young guy and have so much more to do. But one, do you think about life outside of where you are in the sense of like, I have, I'd say you got 30 at least, who knows, you could fucking die tomorrow. You have 30, 40 years of life on this planet. Really, like, and baseball is such a small piece of life existence as a human. Like,
Yeah.
and for so much of my life, baseball was my existence.
Yeah.
Even doing music, it was my existence. And I've been challenging that so much just because I want to make sure that I'm living too.
Right.
I'm not just, I have such a rare opportunity.
agree, yeah.
And obviously you do as well. Now, the difference between you and I, and this is why I'm going this way with this, is that like there's so much regiment to your life for so much of it, given the season. We talked about how long the season is and the demands for you to be as great as you are, all the demands that you've met with your time and your energy devoted to this game. Are you thinking about that at all? Like, what else do I want to do here while I'm Christian Yelich? Like while I'm just this regular human being. That's what you are after all this.
I think there's I'm 29, man, like, and I don't even feel like, I feel like I'm like 23, 22, like
fucking 12.
I don't think I'm about to be like 30 years old next year, you know? Like,
isn't it so strange?
There's so much that's happened already in life, and like there's so much that I hope to happen and experience going forward, like, both of us got a long way to go, I definitely eventually want to get married, have kids one day, like experience that whole thing,
right?
Which I haven't done yet. Not really close to doing that
Me either, man.
But I would hope to do that one day, and like that's going to be a really cool chapter too.
Absolutely.
Like you said, I'm really in the thick of this baseball thing, so
Absolutely.
like I'm 8 years into it now. I still got 8 more to go, so like literally like the halfway point.
Yeah.
And like 8 more to go till this deal is done, and like maybe I'll still want to play. Like who knows what I want to do when I'm 36?
Yeah.
But that's at least what I'm gonna do till then.
Right.
So
God
I got
willing,
that. And, yeah, and like you said, enjoying every day and that whole thing. And I've started to think more about like, all right, all that stuff now than I did when I was 21 in Miami. Like I was the furthest thing from my mind was like, what am I gonna do when I'm done playing baseball? Because like I wasn't even in my mind. I was like, I'm not even close to being done.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like you said, you got to enjoy every day. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. I've seen that firsthand. I'm sure you've seen it.
Oh yeah.
So you got to realize how fortunate and blessed you are. But like I said, I feel like there's a whole nother chapter and things like I look forward to that, and baseball is definitely what I do, but it's not going to be what I do forever. When I'm done playing, like I don't see myself getting into coaching or anything like that. Like when I'm done playing, like I'm probably going to be done and doing who knows what. Like I can't even tell you what I'm going to do because like it's so far down the road. Like I don't know. And like you change so much as a person. Like I said, when I think back to when I'm 21 to 29, like what I'm doing at 36 and the kind of person I am at 36 and those experiences are going to be so much different than like me and you sitting here on the couch talking about it. And like who knows what's going to hold, but I'm going to try and enjoy it as much as possible and try and keep those perspectives and values that I feel like are important developed over life. And just continue to try and do your best, realize you're not going to be perfect every day. Even though sometimes you expect it out of yourself. It's just not reality. So try and not be as hard on yourself. Enjoy everything. Enjoy those experiences. Enjoy life. Be thankful for your family, your friends, and hopefully blessed to see, like you said, many, many years and many great things.
You got it, man. You have a impressive guy, and really, it's. I always say this to the athletes, but just appreciate the fucking journey of it all, because you've had such, like you said, man. It started 20 years ago for you. This journey.
Yeah, even more, 25.
Yeah, 25, and you know, the opportunities and the luck and all the hard work, all of it is cultivated and, you know, nurtured you into who you are. And it's just like it's really fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And I love seeing guys at least have that awareness, like, fuck, this is awesome. You know what I mean? And it might suck and I might be in a bad mood if I have an offer, but this is just such a gift, you know, that I have and that I'm nurturing, and it's, you just got to enjoy the days, man. So many people dream and aspire to have just one of those days that you get to live every day, you know?
Yeah, man. And been fortunate enough to have enough of those checks, like, you know, those reality checks that we talked about, to really fully appreciate those moments now, you know, like those experiences, and like, I don't take them as much for granted anymore. Like, because when you're in it, dude, you think that shit's going to last forever. Yeah. You know, you're like, dude, this is going to be my life forever. And you know it's going to end in your head at some point, like the career and all that, but you're like, nah, not today.
Yeah. So far,
right? It's so far away, but it goes so quick, man. You know, like, it goes so fast that now you realize, like, once you're in that moment, like, just enjoy so much of it. Like, the days you think are a grind are not a grind. Like, just enjoy it, man, and be appreciative of it, and try and get everything out of it. Like, enjoy as much as you can, have as much fun as you can, and give everything to it. Because, like, for me, like, I want to look back on my career and, like, whatever I do in it, and just be like, that's what I had, dude. Like, no matter how it turns out. Like, if it turns out bad or it turns out great or, like, even better than great, like, who knows? I want to look back on it and be like, dude, that's all I had. Like, I couldn't have done any better. I couldn't have worked any harder. I couldn't have given this any more than, like,
I mean, it's just...
And then you can live with it, dude. Like, you can be like, dude...
Peace.
Like,
you can have peace.
It's like peace, and whenever it comes time to walk away from baseball and, like, not play anymore, I'm like, hey, bro, like, I gave everything I had.
I even let my cock hang out in a room full of strangers. I gave it
I
my
even
all.
did that. I even did that, man. I really laid it all out there. You know?
Not many people can say that.
So, like, that's what you want to do, and, like, I always constantly remind myself of that, is like, when you don't feel like doing something, or you don't feel like working out, or you don't feel like doing that, it's like, hey, no. Like, you've got to get, I just don't want to be like that what if.
Right.
Like, I never want to have that what if. Like, what if I did that shoot? What if I worked a little harder here? What if I didn't? What if I took it more serious? Like, I don't want to ever have to think about that. And so, like, that's my goal. It's like, just.
I think you're right on pace, and I think you're gonna have an unbelievable career, man. You got all the tools. Almost more importantly, you got the right soul for it to be able to translate and do it. Have the right purpose through it all. So it's really good to see. I appreciate you coming and doing this.
Thanks
man.
for having me, man.
I'm happy. We talked about stars aligning, but I had this conversation. I had Larry King, believe it or not, came to my house and came on the podcast, and that was one of his biggest points. He's like, one day he walked out and took a right on the street, and he ended up meeting this guy that told him about a radio job in Miami, where he's like, what if I went out and took a left? You know, like, and it's just a cool way of thinking about the ups and downs and the ins and outs of life. Like, everything, every turn that you have to take.
It trips you out if you really start thinking about stuff like that. Like, you'll just, like, sit there just like, damn. Dude,
and it's great.
I don't even know. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, why? How does he explain that? Like,
there's a lot of things that can't be explained.
It just happens, you know?
And it's, I think if you can buy into it in the moment, just wherever those turns take you, man, it's where you're supposed to be, you know? Obviously, it's worked for you, and I wish you ultimate success. We'll come catch a game when the shit opens back up again.
I know, man. We're excited.
And then when's the crib gonna be ready in Malibu?
It's tough with construction. You know how that life is, but hopefully in 2022.
Yeah. Well, when we're in town, I'll holler at you.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you, buddy.
You got it, man. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.